How are y'all doing? This is going to be a social experiment in how lucid a person who has not slept for 42 hours can be on a live stream. And I hope to prove the science incorrect and not fall asleep on the stream. But don't worry, I'm pretty caffeinated and pretty energized. Great win by the Raptors, depending on who you're asking and what you're trying to do with this season after a day dominated by reports that Masai Ujiri is currently scouting a Mr. Victor Wembanyama. The Raptors go out and deliver another win to the Hornets. But nevertheless, you're not going to lose to every team. And quite frankly, some of these teams are quite frankly impossible to lose to. I don't think the Raptors could have lost today if they tried. Another night giving up over 50% from the field. Let's talk about some positives. Fred VanVleet, 8 shot attempts. I love that. That was great. Let's keep it there. Let's keep it Freddie fifth option. I like that. This is not hate. This is just saying that 3 of your teammates were going, 2 especially were going, and Scottie and Pascal. Pascal Siakam, 35 points on 13 field goal attempts. That's damn night. I don't think that's ever happened in his career ever. Someone correct me in the comments if I'm incorrect on that one. That's crazy. Michael Smith, man, get some sleep. Don't worry, man. Don't worry. I'm good. I'm going to listen a lot more than talk today, but I do want to share an update. Oh, don't worry. I'm not going to burn out. Chad, don't worry about it. Buddy, I'm fine. Actually, I'm really happy and I want to share something with you guys because we are a community here and at least some of this news has to do with you guys. So last night I was facing 3 editing assignments, deadlines. One was a feature film, got it in. One was a sizzle reel for a TV network, got that in right in the nick of time, 30 minutes to go. And then there was that third one, that thing that I hate to say it, it's the one that I'm not getting paid for. It's the one that's not really generating any revenue, but I would be lying if I told you it was not the one that I cared about the most. Maybe I shouldn't admit that publicly, but isn't it weird? I spent 6 months editing a feature and I care about this interview that much more. I don't know why. I can't tell you why I love this interview so much, but I do. And I spent all day from 8 a.m. right down till 8 p.m. I was watching the game with one eye, I'm editing it with one, and I'm like, I gotta make this Thursday deadline. I released that stupid trailer yesterday saying I'm gonna release it today. And as I'm uploading it, I realized that there's a spelling mistake. When you're dealing with 200 graphics or 300 graphics, it's a very complicated edit, guys. It's so much work went into this over 5 days. And something occurred to me that gratitude is such an important thing in life. I have so much gratitude towards Brian for being so candid and so open and so honest in this interview that to do anything, to rush it, to be lazy about it would really somehow just compromise my soul. So I'm happy to tell you that the spelling mistake has been taken care of. And unfortunately, we will not be watching it tonight, which was the plan. It will be out tomorrow, though. I promise, 1000%, it will definitely be out. Now, talking about some good, Scottie Barnes, man, it's like he knew. It's like he knew that this thing was coming out today. Almost a triple double. Honestly, I was like triple double watch right in the first quarter. The way he pushed the pace, the way he guarded tonight, the way he moved the ball. I'm not going to talk about how the commentators felt, but there was that nasty crossover. Got no replay, got no mention, but don't you worry, I saw it. A little bit of a negative play in the fourth quarter that I noticed. Hamdi, what's coming out today? Well, unfortunately now we have the sad task of releasing probably my favorite video in our channel's history on Friday the 13th. But I thought about it and I'm like, do I want to release it on such an auspicious day, like sorry, not an auspicious day. This is the sleep talking. A routinely bad luck day. And then I thought to myself, there are so many people that will have to correct their talking points once this video lands tomorrow. So maybe it's just going to be bad luck for a lot of other people. Um, yeah, Frosty. Uh, yeah, man. Some of those passes that he threw tonight, wow. Yeah, he's doing it as a short roller. He's operating as in a Draymond role, but my gosh, well, Nikola Jokic has won 2 MVPs playing center, and I don't think this Scottie at center thing is long term, but it seems that he's doing what Gary's done, right? Which is making the best of an imperfect situation and trying to do his best to help his team win. Apparently, Scottie Barnes is not pro take. So you can take that for what it is. Scottie Barnes competed his heart out today. And you know what? It would be very disappointing for his sake if the Raptors somehow managed to give this game away, which they nearly did. Um, I'm going to listen to you guys a lot more than I'm going to talk today. I think I've said a lot of what I want to say. If you want, whatever you want to talk about today, we're open season. I do want to caution that in about 15 minutes, because my girlfriend mistimed this, she will be coming home. My dog may bark. I may have to press mute. We may have a 15-second kerfuffle, but that will be it. So the lines are open. The link is in the description. You can call. I am obviously in a very good mood. I just finished 3 very dire and very important editing assignments, so naturally I'm happy. First off, who do you think we're going? Chat, who's first up in the comments? Who's always first up in the comments? Sorry, who's first up in the call-ins? Any guesses? Who's coming up first? Chat, you gotta let me know based on past history who's coming up first. James Welsh, give the dog a bone. Oh, North Carolina, that is correct, but he is joined by New York. New York, North Carolina, how you doing? Wake Forest, North Carolina, New York City, how you guys doing?
Good, good. I'm currently in Jamaica, though, but
yes, we were told you were in Jamaica, escaping
I,
New York winters. Thanks for calling in from Jamaica.
I couldn't get them because I was using my phone, but I didn't know I could use the internet, the computer as well. So I figured that out today.
Nice. I'm so
Yeah.
happy to hear from you. Did you get a chance to watch the game?
Yeah. I watched all games. I never missed a game since '92.
Oh my gosh. You mean
Never missed
95. This
95.
is
I mean,
this is
never missed it.
crazy.
Even when I've been away, I watched.
You got people in this city missing games for superfluous reasons like wedding anniversaries, birthdays, funerals, and you got diehard Raptor fan in
Yeah,
Jamaica living in New York who's never missed a game calling
never
into
missed
the
a
show.
game.
I love it. How are you guys doing? What'd you think of the
But
game?
then,
Well, great Scotty, 21, 9, and 8. Great all around play from Scotty. Scotty Van Vliet, another great combination. So the pick and roll between Scotty and Van Vliet, excellent. So this tells us that Van Vliet has been sabotaging the team and the fans all these years because he knows how to actually do the pick and roll. He
Oh, he
just chose
does.
not to do it. Exactly. So he chose not to do the pick and roll just because he wants to get his own thing on Scotty. And then Pascal today was anti-Scotty, wasn't giving Scotty the ball. Scotty was so open so many times. Pascal instead to pass the ball to Gary or back again to Van Vliet. And Gary Trent was just completely non-existent today. Scotty would have gotten at least 15 assists from Gary Trent.
Oh my gosh, you're right. Like that was crazy how often he was looking for Gary. But I mean, it was a good bet. Gary's been on fire. Unfortunately, he wasn't on fire tonight, but it wasn't because he didn't get good looks. He got a lot of good looks.
A lot of good
Um,
looks.
well, it was a good bet, right? But if you look at the game, Scotty played a big, huge role in everything, right? It was screening, it was passing, it was defending, it was scoring. There are a lot of times when he screens for Pascal, then he goes to the middle on the top of the key end, waiting for Pascal to pass the ball. And Pascal refuses to pass the ball over and over again. Pascal had a great game in terms of the numbers, right?
Mm-hmm.
But some of those shots are like difficult shots. They fell in today, right? But obviously, we're playing Charlotte Hornets with the second worst team in the league. So I'm not going to grade the Raptors based on this game. But
Yeah.
obviously, they did a lot of things the right way. But like your title says, we end up becoming a no man's land.
Yeah, I mean,
When Jamaica right now.
Yeah, I love it. When I
So
saw
to
the
speak.
title, I said, yeah, exactly, No Man's Land. Exactly, this is the right title for today's game, today's show.
It's kind of interesting because on Monday, Masai went to scout Victor Wembanyama, so that tells you something like that. And for even the coach to start playing the bench player, right? I think they've told him something like, "Well, we got to see what we got here before we make a decision."
hmm. Yeah, I mean, these wins are piling up, right? Three in a row now. I believe
Mhm.
this is the first 3 game win streak for the Raptors this season,
Yes.
and they pull it off against Portland, Charlotte, Charlotte. Well, the
And we're playing
schedule,
Atlanta, and we're playing Atlanta next.
Awesome. Yeah.
well, Atlanta is not quite as dog shit as these 3 teams. So, well, these 2 teams. So it
Mhm.
will be the first real test this team has had in a week. Their defense, once again, surrendering over 50% to one of the worst teams in the league. What are you seeing on defense? Because I'm seeing OG Anunoby 4 steals. I'm seeing Scottie Barnes guarding his heart out, but I'm seeing backline breakdowns, communication breakdowns all over. So,
Mhm.
what's happening to this defense according to you?
Like Francis is always at the top of the key, trying to defend and Lamelo blowing by him all the time, and then everybody's scrambling, trying to find their position and things like that. So they're scoring right, but this is common with the Raptors. They play to their competition. Hmm?
FA, someone once told me that no fan on earth dislikes Fred VanVleet more than I do, but I will send them you because
It's not, you know, the
it's,
Well,
reason. It's not that I hate these guys, right?
I said
Sometimes I
dislike,
think,
I avoided the
yeah.
word hate.
Okay, let me change the word. It's like it they it's like sometimes it's like the IQ is missing. Sorry to say it, right? These are basketball players. I've been playing basketball. And you're at home watching the game. I'm like, you know what, guys? This game is simple. How can it take you guys over 40 something games to start playing the pick and roll? Like, hello? Hmm? Or drive
but,
and kick and the rest of it. Like, it's just pound the ball, pound the ball, pound the ball, to borrow a
but
phrase from Dwayne
if
Casey.
you notice at the beginning, I said the pick and roll was a sabotage, but it wasn't like difficult for him to do today. So that means he had it all with him all this while. So it's just
But
sabotaging the
even
play.
you
I
say he has
mean,
it all the time.
in fairness,
He's not great at it, right? Because there are a lot of times where Christian Coloco sets the screen for him,
No,
pick
he
for
never
him,
gives.
and
He just didn't want to give Koloko the ball.
but
Today, he
even when he
said,
passes the ball, even when he does it, right? Van Vliet is not a great passer. Like he said, that too high, it's too low, not around the right area on the rim. So you either like there was a pass that Scotty made right on the fast break, and even
"Oh, no,
Boucher wasn't even
push
expecting
it
the
wasn't.
pass. It
It
was
wasn't
going on the
expecting
other
the
side.
pass
That yeah, that was like
because it,
wow. That was
I actually thought the pass was going towards the coach, but I didn't even know it was passing the ball towards Boucher on under the rim.
mhm.
That was one great pass.
Yeah, there was a stretch in the second quarter where Scotty and a bunch of bench players really went on a triumphant
Yes,
run, and it was.
offensively and
And
defensively.
I messaged Brian and I said, this might be the best I've ever seen him play in the NBA. I know it's happening against the Hornets. I know he could be more aggressive, but the way that he's controlling this game right now is borderline superstar level. It's interesting to watch because LaMelo and Scotty are back to back rookies of the year, right? And LaMelo's an imperfect
Mm,
equation, and so is Scotty. Neither one of these guys are Luka Doncic right now, right? We can all agree on that. But
that's
what
right.
they do well is they seem to see
They
things
see
that
the game. They see
that
the game.
they see
Yeah,
the game extremely well. And ironically, they have a lot in common. They're very tall playmakers. Scotty's obviously the much better defender and much more committed defender. LaMelo being
mhm.
the more shot happy guard. But one thing that they both have in common is they played on stacked, and I do mean stacked high school teams. When you ask people what is the greatest high school team of all time, they say Chino Hills with LaMelo Ball or Montverde with Cade and Scotty. I mean, playing in those, one of the things that I dug into with my interview with Brian was why Montverde, right? Why leave a good situation where he was point guard to go play power forward with Cade? And he said size, competition. You need to go up against the best. You need to see good games, right? In South Florida basketball, he was taking maybe 5 to 10 good games a season. But with Montverde, like they were getting like really good games almost every single night. And he wanted to test himself up against the best. He wanted to be held accountable.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I think that the talent level that these two have makes them extremely, they stand out because quite frankly, even though Pascal has refined his skill level to the point where he is truly like unstoppable in certain matchups, right? Like unless you have a guy who can actually dig up into him like Dylan Brooks, you're going to have a really, really tough time guarding this guy because he's so
Mm-hmm.
quick, right? But then the other part of the game, which is like seeing the next play, seeing like there was a play in the fourth quarter, and I'm not going to harp on it, and it doesn't really matter because Pascal had a great game, but it's a play that no superstar would ever miss. Scottie dives to the basket. He's so wide open. There's a
Raising,
clear,
even
I saw it.
raising his hands for asking for the
he
Yeah,
ball.
screamed, and then
I
he
saw
just
that
got out of
play.
the way because he's not crazy. He's not going to pick up a 3 second, violation. But I know a lot of players who've said in that situation they would actually stay in the key and pick up the 3 second violation to force the turnover to punish the guy who didn't pass. But Scotty moves out, and it's sort of a it's weird to watch sometimes. I don't even think he's doing it on purpose necessarily. I think he just
I
kind of made
agree.
up his mind in that moment.
Yes.
I'm going to be scoring
Once
this one.
once
And it's,
Pascal makes up his mind on going to the rim, nothing stops him. He just
Yeah.
goes. And when he gets there, if there are a crowd, he just throws the ball. So
Yeah,
it
but
is
I'm
quite
not gonna
unique.
let this line pass without talking about Scotty scoring around the rim, right? I think he needs to go harder, sometimes go for the contact and go for the dunk because sometimes he tries
yeah.
these fancy layups,
Yeah,
and
he did, he had that one hook which was just
mhm.
a wild miss, and then he did that little twist
Yeah,
around thing.
yeah,
He
twice,
needs to
yeah.
go right through. He's way too strong and
He's
he can
doing
he can do that.
exactly. Like look
But
at the
you
other
know,
time
but
he dunked the
last
ball right really
Yep.
hard today, right? I think if he
Mhm.
goes through Giannis, goes through contact, then you're talking
there's
about
but it's,
Giannis
it
right there.
is it is two things though. Last year it went very hard on the rim.
Yeah, it wasn't going
Mhm.
hard all the time. I'm not gonna give Scotty a
Injured
pass.
himself. So now it could be more psychological versus the referees were also calling as well.
No,
No,
I think
I
Scotty
think
sometimes is so talented that he has like everything, like he has everything, and sometimes like debating himself which moves to use, right? And that's why sometimes players are taught to just learn one, two, three, four moves and just be perfect at those moves. Like even Mobley only does three moves, right, around the ring,
no,
and
I will 100% agree, Effie. He needs to go up harder. He needs to take contact more. He's more than strong enough. He's probably he and OG are like your strongest players. They're stronger than I think
Mm,
Pascal's wiry strong, right? Like all three of your forwards are really strong. They can all take contact. Um, he does something that the other two don't do though. So OG cannot collect his balance before he dives into contact, which usually results in some
mhm,
very awkward finishes.
I think that's
Pascal,
from the injury he had in college.
maybe. But I'm not a doctor, so I cannot verify, unfortunately. I will let you know when I get my medical degree, though. I'll let you know. But I'm funny when I'm sleepy, aren't I? I'm a lot lighter, I'll tell you that. I have no energy to be pissed off. Um, and then Pascal, he dives into contact, but then he falls away from it. Like he dives into it, but because of the collision, he usually falls. It's very hard on the body. Scotty is unique in this sense, and obviously Fred, below the rim finisher. Gary, still somewhat of a porous, albeit improving finisher. But what Scotty can do is he can actually stay on balance after taking contact, right?
yes.
You see his hook shots. They're usually like if he's off balance, it's because he put himself off balance. It's not anyone else. His legs are really strong, so he combines some of the best attributes of OG and Pascal into
And
one,
Pascal combined, yeah.
because he has the leg strength that OG has. Maybe not quite as much, but he has that base strength. but then the upper body strength he also has, but then he also has like a little bit more fluidity than OG. So um, I don't know.
Scotty,
It's
Scotty will
interesting.
be his own. Scotty will be his own best friend or his own worst enemy because he has everything already. He just needs to focus on one or two things that every season, so that way he gets better at that rather than focusing on too many things. He has too much talent in him.
Yeah,
I
you
agree.
guys. Mhm.
Yeah. All right.
And
Any
and
final
and
thoughts?
and, and that's what this guy does every season, right? Jalen Brown from Boston Celtics, right? He works on one thing every offseason. Comes into the season and keeps scoring. Like when he got into the NBA, couldn't shoot for to save his life, right?
Yeah.
But now he's an excellent 3-point shooter. So I think
Yeah.
it's good game overall. And again, where do we go from here is my question because
Yes, because
they're gonna pile up some wins and
I
it's gonna
remember
get to the point where you can't really tank.
2 days ago I was just watching you guys talk and I was reading the comments as well. So one of the commentators said in the chat group said, "I don't even know how to feel about this win." So that's exactly how I feel with these 3 games.
Well, I'm happy for anyone who is in that locker room who was really bummed about losing. I mean, we are Raptor fans, right?
And I'm glad Scott is playing well because then the press can keep quiet for a second.
Um, Somehow I feel like they're gonna do to him what you kind of did to Fred VanVleet tonight, which is they're gonna be like, he could have done this all along. He was sabotaging the team,
Hey
right?
guys,
You got, you got,
I don't hate from Vliet. I'm
I know,
just
I know.
are you
No,
sure?
but
You don't act like you haven't slept for 48 hours though.
I mean, seriously, I've lost count. I think the last time I slept
That's
was
a good
yesterday at,
comeback.
yeah, it's definitely over 40 hours, I'll tell you that.
You know
Um,
what surprises me is like sometimes I wake up like 6 a.m. in the morning trying to get ready and like look at Instagram and like, oh, Pensari just posted something on Instagram like 20 minutes ago, 2 hours ago. Like, don't this guy sleep? It's like, whoa.
well, everyone keeps saying I'm going to burn out, and truth be told,
Yeah.
I love this way too much to burn out. I feel like you burn out with things that you don't love. I mean, I might be wrong. I mean, I'm sure there's a
Oh,
doctor who's going to fact check me.
from a
They're going to be
medical
like,
start from a medical standpoint, I'm gonna tell you you're gonna burn out. So
"Don't you
you gotta
worry.
take time.
I'm going to be
You
fine.
gotta
Don't worry.
take time.
I've to be honest, I've been doing this my whole life. I
Yeah.
pull all
We get
nighters. I work crazy hours. But when I get passionate about something, I just do it. This is Asperger's in motion, guys. When I get passionate about something, if I get passionate about a book, I'm gonna go like 2 straight days. I'm gonna read that book and then I'll sleep for a day. Don't worry, I'm like this. Anyways,
okay. All
cheers.
right.
Thank you for joining us from
All right,
Jamaica, man. I
guys.
really appreciate the
Final call
conversation.
out. Make sure you follow him on Instagram and Twitter. Thanks, guys.
You
All
gotta love
right.
it when your supporters are the ones plugging your social. I love it. Thank you so much.
All
Thank
right,
you.
Cheers,
guys.
guys.
Okay, bye.
All right, we got Chad. Don't put something. What is what? Don't put what? I can't see the full thing, man. What does it say? Chad? Chadwick? Oh, I think it must say don't put me on. That's funny. Next up, we got Tamberlin, Coach Mo, and we got Freddie. Okay, so we got 3 people that the chat should be pretty familiar with. First up is Coach Mo. Coach Mo, how you doing?
I'm good. Another meaningless win, but it was great to watch. The team played well. They played together.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's weird. The last 2 games, Fred has really let go of the ball to the point where you think someone had to with him, like management came down and said something because he just let the ball go, like completely. And
Didn't stop him from screwing up that run, man. I'm telling you. Like
and
four for 8, it's hard to shit on. Like I've been waiting for Fred VanVleet to take this role. He actually took this role in the beginning, and we were doing fine. And he
not
is
to
now
this
once
extent, though. Not to this extent. I
no
mean,
to this extent.
he's shooting like 5 shots through 3 quarters regularly now.
Okay, but I mean, Maybe he's taking after Scottie Barnes.
But what this did, and I don't think it's a coincidence that Pascal's efficiency has gone way up. I don't think it's coincidence that he's not scratching and clawing for buckets anymore. Like his true shooting percentage the last two games have to be in the 80 percentile
Hmm.
if you combine both games. And one thing I noticed that was really interesting in the second half was the Hornets were respecting Scottie Barnes' role. When he was rolling in the second half, they really stopped helping as much because he started scoring. He was getting lobs. Uh, he was scoring in the paint. He was making
Look,
quick.
it's
So
really
he was a
hard.
factor in the role, and they said, "All right, enough's enough. We got to stop Scotty's role." And then
Mm.
people, and then that's when Fred started to get his assist because the screens, and now he has space to operate. Pascal has space to operate. So I thought that was interesting.
Mm. I think, look, the thing is that any functional offense cannot have dead weight, right? You can never have dead weight. When you look at two quote unquote non-scorers in Golden State, they are constantly in scoring positions. When you look at how the Brooklyn Nets are playing with Ben Simmons, again, these guys are prototypically non-scorers, and Scottie Barnes is certainly a more talented scorer than those three guys, right? Um, you have to look at how the Brooklyn Nets have played lineups with Ben Simmons and Nick Claxton. How
Mhm.
are they doing that? It's because a functional offense needs to put everyone in a position to be a threat. And one of the things that you notice with this Fred VanVleet, Gary Trent Jr., Scottie Barnes situation is basically that in order for this to work, Fred and Gary need to be at least willing to move off the ball quickly and then put themselves into motion. Put Scottie in the middle of the floor as a screener, right? He's basically doing the Draymond role, right?
Yeah,
That's basically what he's doing. He's doing a Draymond, Jokic, Sabonis, Demontis Sabonis type role,
yeah,
and he's doing fine in it, right? Now, where I draw the line is where people say, well, this is what he can do. This is an extension of what he did last year, and so this is who he is. I don't think this is who he is. I think we saw plenty of point Scotty tonight with that second unit, and it looked brilliant too, right?
that's what
So,
Lowry used to do. He used to save that bench unit. It was the Lowry bench units. That's what LeBron used to do in Cleveland. LeBron would just save the bench unit. And
yeah,
that's what Jokic basically won MVP the last two seasons. Him and a bunch of subs, and they go to
right.
work. Great
So what I'm
players.
saying is like by being assertive, Scotty Barnes is unlocking himself as a threat, right? By setting the screens in the mid roll, in the short roll, by playmaking quickly out of those positions, which I mean has never been a weakness of his. He's always been a quick reader. I don't understand this narrative that's come out lately of like, oh, he needs to make quick reads. Like I don't know who I'm listening to or who they're trying to gaslight, but he's always made quick reads, but he's doing more of that. And I think he's even stepped it up a bit. Like the assertiveness, he seems very decisive about, diving to the basket, even though he may not get the ball. He sets really hard picks. And once he sets that pick, he'll either flare out to the corner or he'll dive right to the basket. So he's not just kind of standing around waiting for things, right? He's making things happen. And that gravity needs to be constantly there for him to stay on the court with this group, right? Because it's prototypically you would put with this group, you would put like a rim rolling center. You'd put like a Jakob Pertl, right? Well, Jakob Pertl is not standing at the 3 point line. Jakob Pertl is not standing in the 22 feet away from the basket. So Scotty, good on him for sort of buying into his role. Fred VanVleet, good on him for buying into his role. Pascal Siakam, good on him for being efficient. 13 shots. I mean, granted, a little misleading with the free throws, but really efficient night. You can't
Mhm.
ask for a more efficient night from him. I'm a little bit worried about the defense though, because there's a
Yes,
second straight night that you've given
the
up over
perimeter guys.
50% to the Charlotte Hornets, and it is those two perimeter guys, it's
Yeah,
Terry Rozier and LaMelo Ball, and they're both dynamic guards, both quick off the bounce. I think I know where you're going to place the blame. I'm curious if you didn't have to place the blame on him, where would you go next?
I would go with either Gary. I think it's the backcourt. There's just too much straight line drives, and
I
then
mean,
we're
Gary
always in
Gary
the
had quite a few failed gambles today. OG had 4 steals. I think Scotty guarded up pretty well,
yeah.
although he
Pascal has fallen
also.
off a cliff as a defensive player. I think it's
I'm
straight
glad
repetition.
someone's saying it. I
He
mean,
fell off
it's
a cliff.
hard.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's really not providing much at the rim, but it's really hard because he's not providing much on the perimeter either. I'm not really sure. I mean, I wonder if it's the groin that's bothering him because, if you remember last year when he came back, like we fell off a cliff defensively. Like we became like we went from like I think I want to say we were seventh or eighth without him, and then we fell to like 30th. Someone fact check me if that's not true. And I made a video about it. It's one of the first videos on this channel about like just low lighting like what the fuck he was doing on defense, and it was really weird to watch because he is a very capable defender.
He is.
But groin injuries make lateral movement very tricky, like very tricky. Scottie had a groin injury at Florida State, and it really he had to come off the bench. He had to do the warm up bike because they are extremely tricky, and they're very slow healing. So his lateral movement seems a little bit compromised. What I'm a little bit concerned about is just the effort to recover. I understand, like, a lot of people had some issues earlier this year with Scottie's effort level on defense, right? And I think in a couple of games, I can actually agree that that was probably fair. Like there were a
Mhm.
couple of games where, hurt or not, his second effort wasn't there. There are too many times where Siakam gets blown by on the perimeter where I don't feel like there's enough of a second effort. Just to get back into the play, just to call out something, to ask for help even. It just feels like, and I know that the Raptors' entire scheme is to push guys off the 3-point line and to push team and to push into rotation because that's really how they become so disruptive defensively. But I do think it's been a little too easy. It's like way too easy. And if you're giving up like back-to-back 50 plus percentage performances against the Hornets at home,
Mhm.
like teams, this is a young team. Young teams usually struggle on the road. So I mean, like, what would have happened in Charlotte? 60% from the field. The defense has been very porous. The offense has been more fluid. I think Barnes is authoring a lot of that, though.
And I think he's being given an opportunity to do that. Like so with Pascal and Fred not holding the ball as long, and then they're. And I also want to talk about Achiuwa.
Yeah.
And there was a segment on the broadcast where Nurse was like he wants the sweet spot for him at this point is 24 minutes.
Hmm.
Obviously, Achua is not a great decision maker. He should be strictly a finisher at this point. But I just thought when he was playing with Barnes on the with the bench unit, Barnes set it. There was a play where Barnes set him a screen and he drove to the basket, and I just thought that was so amazing. In that, I think Fred and Pascal would just go up to him and clap their hands and say, "Give me the
I
ball."
mean, he
Whereas,
did have that sort of like in and out dribble. I think he got to
yeah,
the line, right? I mean, Precious Achua is a strange story, right? Because his processing speed is quite bad. His
it
vision
is.
is
It
quite
is.
limited.
It,
But he has a lot of that Siakam package, like evolving handle, evolving skill set, evolving shot, relentless athleticism. He's a lot better rebounder than Siakam, right? So I think
defender.
he's a better defender. So I think like the decision making will come. I think he's a little bit newer to basketball, although not as new as Siakam was, and he has apparently played some point earlier in his life. So that sort of makes the lack of decision making and basketball IQ
Yeah,
somewhat more troubling. But his coordination cannot be taught. Like in terms of like just raw athletes, I think you know he's up there probably as our best athlete, and it
yes.
really shows in transition. I do wish that he would give it up earlier because I know that Scotty would find him, um,
And that's what makes Scotty
clean.
so special with the vision and the effortless playmaking. That's something you can't teach. If you've ever watched the basketball or coached basketball, there's levels to vision.
Oh,
Like
100%.
right
Yes.
away, you can see, oh yeah, that kid, he gets it. He has a third eye almost. Like he has it.
You know what
He
it
has a
is?
gift.
It's like Scotty will make a pass to the corner, know exactly who needs to come up, and he almost looks visibly upset when people don't do what he knows is the right
Yeah,
thing to do. He's gonna have to be patient because he has a lot of low IQ teammates that
he,
will almost never do what they're supposed to do.
he was upset with Pascal because there's a times where Pascal it's like I don't know if he's not looking up quick enough or he just doesn't want to make the quick outlet pass, but
Hmm.
he's upset a couple times where it's like, dude, pass the ball ahead. We have an opportunity, and then Pascal just holds on to it. So stuff like that.
I mean, until Scotty evolves as a scorer, to the point where he can sort of push Pascal for first option, rights or on certain nights, you're probably going to continue to see some sort of lack of cohesion on offense. There's just certain plays that, the Golden State Warriors just make by habit.
Yes.
Like, you just don't see this with the Golden State Warriors. And it doesn't matter who's really on the court, right? Even Jordan Poole and Jonathan Kuminga, who are not really good passers,
Mhm.
they'll still make obvious passes. Like, they're not completely stupid. Um,
But today we had that. Today we played. It was contagious. It was contagious. A lot of our buckets were off a pass Scottie made, and then he had a hockey assist or screen assists. It was
mhm.
just like we played his brand of basketball as opposed to what we were playing a couple weeks ago, which was, you know,
I
my
100%
turn, your
agree.
turn, my turn, your turn.
No, absolutely, absolutely. I said it like I think 2 games ago that this game had Scotty's fingerprints all over it. The last 2 games have as well. This is 3 games in a row, which assists are up, 3-point shooting is up. Granted, I think tonight was 35%. That's still a far cry. I mean, that's still way better than like consistently we were 19, 22%, 23%, 25%. Thus proving, quite frankly, that this channel had a fucking point the whole time, that the ball does need to move. And if you notice, Scotty's not shy about saying that. Like, in every post game where he's had a good
Mhm.
game and the ball has moved a little bit, he's always made a point to bring it up. Like, he's always like, and the ball moved, and the ball moved.
I'm
We
waiting for
just have to
someone to
move
set
the
him a
ball.
screen.
Pardon?
I'm waiting for someone to set him a screen. After all the screens he set, he's not.
I've seen some people
OG
set him
Siakam, they're not
screens.
coming up and letting him, run the pick and roll a bit.
Unfortunately, it's just a lot of low IQ guys, man. Like, I mean, honestly, here's the thing: the Raptors develop skill really well, right? You can turn OG into a better scorer, but at no point in OG's life was he ever mocked as a top 5 pick. And no, like, he was a late lottery pick before he got injured. At no point in Pascal Siakam's life was he mocked, or Fred VanVleet's life. They never flashed that early potential as youth prospects. And quite frankly, there are a lot of guys who, I mean, you could probably identify them right now in grade 8, that those are going to be probably top 5 recruits, McDonald's All-Americans. And
Mhm.
while you cannot guarantee that every single guy that you identify who has that kind of vision in grade 8, grade 9 is going to end up, fulfilling the prophecy to the NBA, because obviously prospects can get diverted in a million different ways. They can get injured, they can get lazy, they can get complacent, they can fall into the wrong situation, et cetera, bad coach. But that vision is almost requisite for a superstar. I consistently find myself, even with Giannis, right? Giannis is one of my favorite players in the NBA, but you would be very wrong to think that you can run as efficient an offense through Giannis as you could through Harden in his prime, or Luka now,
Yeah.
or anyone who has
Mhm.
like real
Mhm.
real actual vision. Giannis is like a blueprint for what Masai is trying to do, which is develop a body into a player,
Yes.
right? It doesn't always work that way, because the most important 6 inches in basketball are between the ears, right? The way you see the game, the way you process the game, how you think it through, I think matters more than anything. And that's why you'll often see, like, I don't know if you were you watching the Raptors in the early 2000s?
Yes, but I wasn't aware of
Do you
really
remember
what was
you
going on.
Okay, do you remember a short stint that we had with Mark Jackson? We
Yes.
had
Yeah.
You remember we had Rod Strickland for a
Yes.
very
Yes.
we
Very
had
short.
Rod Strickland, we had Muggsy Bogues,
Yes.
right?
Olajuwon.
We had Olajuwon. There were flashes and moments. They weren't consistent because they were all, well
Old.
past their prime by
Yeah.
the time they got here. But you could see how they processed the game. Jalen Rose, probably another example of a guy, he could just make a pass every now and again that we just be like, how did he see that? How
Mhm.
did he know that was going there, right? Vince, right? Consistently every night, there's something. Even Andrea, he would have like a couple of those passes every game where you're like, oh, he sees it. He's just not trying enough. Lottery talent, when second round work ethic meets, top 5 vision, that's when you get superstars. There are a lot of guys, who, in my opinion, probably could have made 1,000 times more out of their NBA career than they did, right? But they have to work for it. And so you bring in all these guys who work for it. Like, you bring in Pascal Siakam with this legendary work ethic. You bring in OG Anunoby, Gary Trent Jr. All these guys have really great work ethic, but none of them see the floor.
They
None
don't.
of them read the game.
They don't.
OG is evolving.
He
There was
is.
a fast break where
But
he threw a dime to Pascal, and I'm like, ooh, he got that. And he's been evolving as a playmaker. So OG is at least, a quick study.
but
And you know what's interesting? There's a second round prospect on this team that I think has lottery vision. Do you know who it is?
it's probably Jeff Dowtin Jr.
No, it's Christian Coloco.
It's Christian Coloco.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, he's made some great passes. Yeah, he's made some great passes.
man, playmaking is the most important skill in basketball. I can teach a guy how to shoot. I cannot teach a guy how to see. Anyway, Mo, you got any final points here?
Yeah, Scotty. I watch Scotty a lot, and his IQ even sometimes amazes me because he's been like a screen setter for about a month consistently now. He's even learning changing angles on screens and not rushing to set the screen and seeing what position. And he's like changing the angle of the screens. And then rolling is an art because you don't want to roll too quick.
Absolutely,
And
100%.
Scotty rolls just enough. He's making Fred look like a point guard. He's actually making Fred look like a point guard. Whereas it reminds me of when Lowry used to just serve Serge Ibaka every night with like just his mid-range jumper on command, just bounce,
Hmm.
bounce, bounce, right? Just threading the needle. And I just think,
Absolutely,
like
no.
right now, if we asked OG to be a screener, it wouldn't go well.
There is a push pull, of course. Screen setting is a skill, screen assists are a skill. The hockey assist is a skill. These are all skills, and you pick them up earlier on. You troubleshoot them earlier on. Anyway, Mo, thanks a lot for calling
Yeah,
in.
no
Really
problem.
appreciate it, man. Cheers. Um, Next up, we got Tamberlin. How are you, Tamberlin?
I'm okay. How are you?
I'm good.
So Mo kind of stole my thunder there a little bit because I love that bench unit that was humming along there. Precious was amazing tonight. I'd still love to see Nick swap Doughton Jr. in for Flynn.
Mm-hmm.
And
I would
I want
too.
I have a little bit of a hot take. I was wondering, do you think that maybe Nick Nurse sensing the separation in the locker room, the two camps,
Mm-hmm.
decided to maybe give Scottie what he wanted because all the players that are in that unit are his buddies pretty much. And there was times that OG was playing with them, but Gary was playing with them. Precious is playing with them. Chris and Precious had that bond, that energy bond,
Mm-hmm.
and that unit was playing, I would say, almost better defense than the main unit
Mm.
at
Um,
times.
the second quarter was downright dominant. Um,
Hmm.
I was,
He went to a different unit in the second half. He didn't
I,
use the same unit.
yeah, that's unfortunate. Um, Look, obviously there's stuff going on in this locker room. We're not going to speculate too much on it until things come out. But I mean, any more than I already have. My gosh, I devoted an entire body language session on Fred VanVleet the other night, right?
Yeah.
I was watching that back, and I'm like, man, if I did not know me, I would think I was crazy too. So,
See
um,
Fred's no look pass tonight,
yeah, it was good.
channeling Barnes.
Channeling Barnes, 8 shot attempts, also channeling Barnes. No, I mean, look, this is great because
Was a better game for him.
this is a humbling moment, right? I mean, you gotta
Hmm.
at some point read the tea leaves on the wall, right? Or tea leaves in your tea, I guess. Because
Yeah.
to some extent he does need a market to leverage an offer, right? And I don't see teams lining up for a guy who's going to take 20 shots. I mean, he's developed a bit of a rep right now of this bet on yourself thing sort of firing back because it's always under context, right? Context, bet on yourself, second round, undrafted player, rookie, really inspirational story. All-star, starter, seeking max contract, bet on yourself, completely different story. So
Quote
he
unquote
does,
leader.
yeah. So I mean, look, right now he's doing the most leadership thing that he's done, which is settling the offense and playing a little bit more off the ball, not chasing his stats. Because at the end of the day, hopefully someone's told him that NBA GMs are not stupid. You're not going to be able to, hoist up 35 shots against the Hornets, lose against the Hornets, put up 35 points, and suddenly we're going to look at your numbers any different, right? I mean, at some point he's going to have to be efficient. And he's said many times that he wants he thinks that his numbers will balance out by the end of the year. Well, they're not going to balance out unless his shot diet and his shot selection get a hell of a lot better for the next 40-ish games. So, also I think to some extent, with all the things that have gone wrong with him this season, the only thing that could make it worse, I mean, granted, he does have the player option, is an injury. And the way that he was going to the basket, if you recall, like about 2-3 weeks ago, like he was just attacking the rim, and it was very awesome to watch. It's just not sustainable. Because guys who regularly attack the basket, they're not like flailing about and falling as much as he is, right? Like Allen Iverson did it, but he did it twice a game. He didn't do it like 25 times a game. Like most of the times, Iverson just dusted his guy, got up over the defender, had a lot of separation. Like he's not driving into contact and falling out of bounds every night. That's unfortunately the way second round picks and role players have to generate offense: maximum effort, maximum contact. Nothing easy.
He's emulating Kyle a bit there, I think, but Kyle has a bit more padding in the caboose.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does. What are your thoughts on the defense tonight? Yeah, I'm just curious how we're giving up back to back. Do you think it's just playing down to your competition?
I think there's part of it is that, but also this team, the Hornets are a better scoring team than what the true stats are saying. I had it pulled up. Hang on, what did we do with it? When they played Milwaukee, who's a good defensive team, they shot 52% from the field and 41.7% from three. So this team can score. It was mostly because Ball was out. But yeah, I mean, there was moments, there was glimpses of things, but who were you saying? I went to grab water, so I was listening in the background. Who were you saying was off tonight because of the groin? Pascal?
No, I'm saying we were talking about the defense. So we're saying like the defense has been a bit of an issue. So the connectedness on defense has been a bit of an issue so far, at least per my perspective. I also find that
the straight line drives have to stop, and I'm sorry, that's Fred, and that's
it's also
Flynn.
like the late rotations. It's the late recoveries. Like I've mentioned before in this chat, so I don't want to repeat myself, but like the Raptors do opt to push guys off the line to force contested twos, and they're supposed to be throwing guys into rotation, but it's just you got to get back into the play. Like you cannot play 4-on-5, and when Pascal's getting beat on the outside, he tends to not recover into the play for the next 5 seconds. Like he just kind of like turns around and walks back into the play.
He's looked really tired lately. Have you noticed his face looks really drawn?
Yes.
Like I've noticed it like the last 3-5 games.
But imagine being this dominant offensively while being so exhausted, right? Like imagine 35 points on 13 shot attempts while being tired is pretty crazy.
I was impressed by him tonight overall. Like he didn't try to force as many shots as he sometimes does. But yeah, there's something missing on the defense. Part of that, I think, is the issues in the locker room because let's face it, defense is all about talking and trust.
It is 100%.
And right now, this team doesn't have that as much as they need to. And there's been some glimpses of them. I think maybe there's a little bit of a shift because, as we said, Fred's adapted a bit. I think he's realizing he can't keep doing what he's doing, and it wasn't working. Whatever his Hail Mary choice was that he was trying to do to get his bag wasn't working, and I would imagine that the front office wasn't happy. Like when Adam Lithgow is on NBA tonight talking about it's about time about Scottie's dunk, that's a problem, and I don't think that they want to hear the stuff keep leaking out nationally to the States where they start putting down Scottie, so I think Scottie he kind of realized I know Scottie's going to be fine, but I think that Fred realized the blowback wasn't going to be good for him because we've seen him shift. So yeah, there's work to be done defensively. I mean, I can't figure out whether or not they're going all in to try to win. I don't know whether Masai will be looking at blowing it up or whether he'll try to send pieces out. My hope is that they keep Gary because I can see that there's a bond between Precious, Barnes, Gary,
OG and
OG.
Gary.
Yeah, and Coloco, that young group has a bond that you see it. You see how happy they are for each other. You see the joy they play with on the floor. I felt the best defense. Yeah, there was lapses because they're young and they're going to make mistakes and they haven't been given enough opportunity to bond.
I think Jeff Doughton and Otto Porter are part of that group a little bit too.
Well,
They
yeah.
all
Well,
sort
I
of huddle
wanted.
together. They sit
Yeah,
together. Look, I
I
mean,
wanted. I want Jeff Doughton to be given. I mean, I'm sorry to Malachi Flynn, but I'd rather see Jeff Doughton getting his minutes. I just would.
yeah. So I want to address this comment. Patty M. Hakeem Olajuwon was not 7 feet. I assure you. Granted, I met him
6'10".
he was closer to 6'9". Six
Okay.
nine max, 6'10" maximum. Also, someone had a comment earlier which I pinned on the screen, which I meant to address. Uh, someone said that Doug Smith went on a show and said Precious Achiuwa is 6'11". That's because Doug Smith failed math. Precious Achiuwa is not 6'11". He measured,
The shade, the shade.
yeah, like he measured 6'7.5", 6'8" at the combine. He has not grown 3 inches over that time. There's one legitimate 7-footer on this team, and that is Christian Coloco. And
Question.
trust me, when you see him, he's towering over the rest.
Man, I
Um,
hate the refs the way that they call Coloco. I really hate the way they call him.
yeah. QA. Hakeem was not 6'11". Look, I understand that sometimes. Trust me. Like, look. Okay, find a picture of him standing next to Shaq, who was a legit 7 foot, 7 foot and a half. Um, he's not 6'11", man. Like, I remember there was a time when Hakeem and Vince were standing next to each other. And granted, Hakeem was a little bit older than then. He was like 37. But it was like the gap between them was like this much. It wasn't that much. So yeah, he's not 7 feet. He's not 6'11". I put him max 6'10". Anyways,
One other thing I wanted to put into the universe is
mhm.
remember when Steph, the first 4 years of Steph's career, how he had all the ankle issues and he had to keep getting surgeries
Yep.
and he had problems with his balance.
Hmm.
Um, there was this guy, Kiki Lyles, I think is his name. They hired to come in and work with him, and they worked on hip hinge exercises, and they
Mm.
got him lifting weights, and it was all about balance and building his core and the way that his hips moved. And
Yep.
once they did that, Steph was fine. Like he stopped having all these
Scotty
ankle
stretches.
injuries.
Scotty's been stretching every
No,
single
I want
day
it
at
for
the.
OG. I want it for OG for his balance. I want him to look at. I want to put it into the universe for him to work with Kiki Lyles or someone like that that knows those exercises because it will help his balance. Because that's the issue with not Scotty with OG.
No, I agree. I think we addressed it in the last show that OG has probably some of the worst balance on this team. Anyway, Tam, any final takeaways? Any thoughts? Any thoughts on
I
what
just
can
loved
remedy?
what Precious. I loved what Precious did tonight. I loved his energy, and yeah, he's a bit of a.
Bull in a china shop.
Sometimes, yes, but I love the energy he brings to the floor, and you can see last year when he played in the sophomore game and came back and gained all that confidence, there was a certain swagger to him, and I noticed it again tonight. He's starting to feel his oats again, and I just love the bond that him, OG Barnes, and Gary have, and I'm really hoping that those four plus Coloco obviously survive
There was a
whatever
period.
happens at the deadline.
Me too. There was a period in Raptors history where we had Sonny Weems, and if I'm not mistaken, it was Ed Davis, Sonny Weems, DeMar DeRozan, um,
Young Guns
the Young Guns. Yeah,
and Amir Johnson.
and Amir Johnson, and that was
I
the
loved
Young
Amir
Guns,
Johnson.
And you know what? Most of those guys ended up being pretty serviceable for a while, albeit Sonny Weems sort of fell off a cliff after he left. But I will say that
Went to Golden State, didn't he?
I would support a youth movement for sure. I mean, obviously, like I would support it. I have a 48-minute video about me saying Siakam is not a first option, so clearly I would support a blow up. But honestly, I just want to see good basketball. I want to see the people who want
Hmm.
to play good basketball rewarded. I want to see the fans who are paying exorbitant amounts to watch basketball to actually see again, good basketball, win, lose, or draw. I just want to see a good game. I mean, this is sports entertainment. This is not war, right? It's sports entertainment. Like people miss the entertainment part because they get in their feelings a little too much, in my opinion. But you know, you gotta play the right way. I mean, there's so many kids who watch this team play and hold the Raptors as the beacon of, you know, like it's a high regard to be an NBA player, right?
Yeah,
It's
studying
it's
the
a high
bar.
regard to be an NBA coach and an NBA offense and an NBA defense. And so, too often when I was younger, like when I was really young in 2000, 1998, I would turn on an NBA game and I would see what my favorite players doing, and then I would obviously go into, high school or middle school, and I would try to do the same thing.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that athletes are role models. I don't want to get, Charles Barkley to come on here and tell me that he's not my role model, but at some point you can play basketball so poorly for so many years that you pretty much brainwash an entire fan base into thinking this is how basketball is played, and it's not. The way that
Hmm.
this team has played the last couple of years, last 3 years, albeit with a few exceptions, like the second half of last year, I think the ball moved a lot more. I liked it. But there have been just too many times in like the Tampa season, early last season, most of this season so far, where it's just been a very ugly product to watch on the court, right? So I loved seeing what I saw in the second quarter with Scottie. He wasn't really scoring that much. I mean, he ended up with 21 points, but he wasn't really scoring
Did,
that much.
did
But
you see
his
my tweet where I said that he had 6 assists and it felt like he had 20 already?
Oh, you missed the part where I have literally been up for 41 hours editing 3 projects,
No,
and yeah, like so I haven't been on Twitter all day. I went on Instagram a couple of times. I was trying to dodge social media for my mental health, and quite frankly, Scottie Barnes having a good game. Should I go check Twitter? I don't know, man. I don't know.
well, the thing
I don't
is, the
want to
bottom line
hear.
is about the defense. I think they are playing down to their competition, and also when they have an opportunity to get out and run and score like that, it's so much fun for them. And they don't get that opportunity against a lot of teams. So there could be a component of that in there, you know.
Yeah,
We'll see. We'll see. I mean, I do think that it comes back down to just the trust level, and we'll see what
yeah,
happens moving forward. But
yeah,
I have faith in some of them. The key issue for me is the drive bys, the guards driving by. It's been an issue all
yeah.
year. The straight
Um,
line drives to the basket. So,
hmm I'm going to
but
address a comment.
a good game.
Sorry, Tamerlan. I'm going to address a comment. Mackenzie James, you were going at me in the comment section on a post that I made, and then you eventually retorted by saying that, hey, I just subscribed to support your channel. But every single time I look in the chat, you're calling someone a narcissist or someone something. And I want to be very clear about this. You are not, like, I mean, granted, I have called Fred a narcissist, so I'm being quite a hypocrite by telling you that you are not a medical professional or a psychologist to be diagnosing people as a narcissist. But, like, bring your drama somewhere else. So I understand that you have subscribed to this channel, but I am going to officially block you right now. So you are officially unsubscribed. Adios. Sorry, man. Like, so petty. Um, I don't like blocking people. Just an FYI, like this is an open community. We like to have comments. We like to have comments that disagree, agree, whatever. I can take it.
Yeah, let's debate
Um,
and be happy.
exactly. Like, but I think what I was trying to do with this channel is create intelligent discussion, whether you agree or disagree. Like I have had some people who absolutely disagree with me, and I've learned a lot from those people. So I feel like, I mean, that's the point of this. Like those comments, I'm not going to throw any shade on any YouTubers out there who do this, but there are a lot of people out there who will delete every negative comment because they don't want to pile on. I have allowed many pylons. Pylons. uh,
No pun
Tamberlin.
intended.
Tamberlin's a writer. She's going to get it. But yeah, like, I mean, no pun intended for sure. But yeah, like, I don't mind disagreements, and in the chat, like if everyone's just like, hey, everyone's great, I agree, man, like this channel would be done. So I mean, disagreement is
Or
great.
if you don't ever look internally too, like both of us felt like Gary was a certain thing at the start of the year, and both changed our opinion. So
Absolutely. And like and
it's owning your own mistakes and seeing you have to be open to being fallible. It's the only
yeah,
way you grow yourself.
he changed. We changed,
Listen,
right?
he was so professional with how he dealt with everything. I gained nothing but respect for him. But
Absolutely.
I'm also a very emotional person, so
I'm also a very emotional.
when someone does something that I think is unnecessary, uh, it tends to leave a mark with me, and that's why I've had my bias this year, which I'm sure everyone knows. They've followed enough to know and seen my comments and heard what I've said. So we know that I'm a big Scottie fan, and I'm a good big Gary fan now. And Precious, I've always liked, and I really love Koloko. I think his upside is huge. We'll see what happens.
I mean, hey, there are at least 20 teams out there that would trade places with the Raptors roster and future assets in a heartbeat, right?
Yeah,
There are 10 teams that maybe wouldn't, right?
and in
Including a
Masai
couple.
we trust, right?
Yeah, Masai Ujiri's chops as a talent evaluator should never be questioned. I mean, even when he's wrong, he's kind of right, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
the swings are pretty calculated, and yeah, like I mean, guys like Stanley Johnson, guys like Josh Jackson, like these are swings and a miss. I mean, there's no harm, no foul. They're camp deals or minimum contracts or whatever. But if you're gonna gamble on upside, you gamble on that type of upside.
Can I ask you one quick question? How
Sure.
much input do you think Masai has about who plays? Like, for example, you've got Jeff Doughton sitting there and Nurse isn't using him at all. Or you've got like certain players that were on the bench that were barely getting any minutes when everyone was blaming the bench. Like that last game where they played 79 minutes and everyone all of a sudden is saying, oh, the bench finally performed. Well, they haven't been getting 40 minutes cumulatively. So, hello. Of course, they're
Right.
going to perform. They get a little bit of. Here, Fred was talking about needing to have rhythm and not having enough shots. Well, what the hell do you think the guys coming in for 3 minutes are going to do off the bench? So I'm curious how much input you think Masai has about playing certain players, whether it be to feature them for trades
No.
or whether he wants to have a look at them. Is it all this Nurse's call?
One of the things that I've always appreciated about Masai Ujiri, and it's something that I appreciate about Scottie Barnes as well, ironically, is a ability to do two things. Number one, surround yourself with really smart people. And then number two, allow experts to do the thing that you hired them to do. Um,
Mm-hmm.
they're not
So no
micromanagers.
micromanaging. Yeah,
No.
the autonomy
He's
to do their job.
absolutely. Look, if Masai, I remember having a conversation with Masai Ujiri in 2008, and man, if this channel ever gets to a point where I can have him on for a one-on-one, I think it would be a
Oh,
fantastic conversation.
I think I just fangirled out at that.
Yeah, it would be amazing because I mean, I'm a huge fan of Masai Ujiri, and one of the things I realized was he has a mind that can be best summed up as bedmass. Everything is order of operations for him. Everything, and he's like everything is routine. There's a process to scouting. There's a process to evaluation. Everything is processorial. That's not even. I don't even think that's a word, but I hope people understand what I'm saying here. Like, and so the process of a team president telling a coach how to coach is not a process that he would ever even engage in. So regardless of what is happening, if he has to tell a coach like who to play. Now, of course, there is the unwritten rule that if your general manager has paid a significant fee or has spoken very glowingly, or if Nick Nurse knows that Masai Ujiri has like a particular um, affinity for one of the roster players, obviously, your job is directly linked to that player thriving. Because I don't think okay, like yes,
No, I,
technically.
I mean, I knew that about Messiah. I didn't mean it in terms of him being dictatorial. I meant it more as I know that Nurse and Messiah talk all the time. So I just wondered if there was some influence, like
I think like
something
when
along the lines of, what about if we give Jeff a little run to see what he can do? Like if you have a chance to throw him into a game,
what's the
that kind of
incentive
thing.
right now? I mean, what's the incentive for the Raptors to give Jeff Doughton run other than to win games, right?
I'm
And to
using him as an
improve.
example. It could
Yeah,
be
yeah, yeah.
anyone.
No, I know what you mean. I think the Raptors would be wise right now to. Okay, I guess what I'm saying is when you work with someone for 4 years, you learn to read between the lines with what they're saying,
Gotcha.
right?
Gotcha.
Like
Gotcha.
Fred VanVleet said
Saying
earlier this year,
he read that he
he
wasn't going to be on the ball.
he's
Come
been
on.
around exactly. So that's exactly it, right? So if and I mean that says a lot about his relationship with management that they can't directly ask him to do it, but he's just having to read the tea leaves. Um, the
I don't
conversation
believe it. I don't believe it. Sorry. I don't buy it for a second. They're
I don't.
given rules. They're told what to do. Like they're given game plans.
I mean, it would be quite a useless thing to lie about because at the end of the day, the conclusion is the same. However, I will say that
It's
um,
posturing. Sorry.
every young player, right? Like Scottie Barnes, when he has his end of season review with Nick Nurse, the meeting, when he has the end of season meeting with Masai Ujiri, when he has a private meeting in Brooklyn with Masai Ujiri, his concerns about the roster are heard. He is a future franchise cornerstone, whether people here want to buy that or not. Obviously, they're not asking him for input on roster, but they're going to ask him for his opinion on how things are going. I think
Hmm.
you do that with a young player that you wouldn't trade for Kevin Durant. You obviously at least ask him what he thinks about things going on, right? Like, does he like his role? Is there something that he thinks, because he's a very smart player, even though he's 21, and
Exactly.
some people might say he's this or that, but he's a remarkably smart player and a very good basketball mind. And so if you're gonna listen to someone about this, you would want to listen to him, and maybe to some extent you'd want to listen to Fred because he's also proven himself in the past to have quite a high basketball IQ. And so, you know, um, I think
Oh, I lost
maybe.
you.
Oh, sorry, yeah. So maybe there was a plan in place for Scotty, right? To play a certain way last year and then to have his role expand in year two. And because that role hasn't necessarily expanded, and maybe there's a question of who failed who here, right? Did the organization fail to clear up the way for him, give him a roster that he could thrive on, or has he failed to live up to the expectations, right? His numbers are pretty much flatlined from last year. Granted, a lot better the last month, right? So
How much of it was injury though related? I mean,
honestly,
let's be
I
fair.
haven't I haven't
If,
seen.
if Fred's allowed to use that excuse nonstop, and he's not improving, and
Yeah.
Scotty isn't given the same leeway as a sophomore.
Hey, look, I brought up the injury issue with Brian, and I had to cut that part out of the interview because he just straight up said, "Nope, that's not the issue. We're not going to talk about, like we're not blaming injuries." So number one, I respect him for that because it wasn't really injuries. I brought up the fact that Fred was sorry that wow.
Scotty. It's
I am
okay.
sleepy. Scotty looked tired, like that he had been overworked, or maybe he felt like too much work. And he'd said no, he doesn't think that's it. So I'm not a basketball trainer. He is. He's a fantastic one. So I'm gonna trust that I'm wrong in that one, right? Same
Yeah, but
thing with the injuries.
I also think Scotty would be more um, less inclined to blame injuries like some of the players have. Let's
I
just put
mean,
it that
look,
way.
blaming injuries is a catch-22, right? On the one hand,
Yeah.
you dodge at least most of the press hit, right? On the other
Hmm.
hand, other teams now target you for that injury. If you say that your left hand is sore and that's why you're probably not, like, they're not guarding you to shoot with your left. So
Hmm.
that to me is like it depends on the player, right? There are certain players who just never admit that they're injured, and then there's certain players who always say they're injured, and then there are some players who will only admit they were injured after the bad performance. So, I mean, it's
Like
it's
Kyle
it's
getting injected and wearing the black thing on his thumb that how many players have shut
that
down
was
their
funny.
season for.
That was funny. It's so ironic that you call.
You got to give Demontis Sabonis some credit too. That kid's playing through pain every game. I'm impressed with that.
Yeah, Todd Lee says playing hurt is a thing. No, look, I
Not
once
every
heard
player can play hurt though. Everyone has a different tolerance. And
every player.
Scotty seems to have a pretty high tolerance and comes back quickly. OG, as much as I love him, when he gets injured, I always worry it's going to be a long
Mm,
absence because his turnaround time seems to take longer. Other than his ACL that he came back from quickly.
Scotty is Wolverine, man. Anyway,
Yeah.
Chamberlain, thanks a lot for
Okay,
calling
sorry.
in,
And then
as
I'm taking
always.
more time than I thought.
No, no,
Thanks.
no,
Have a good
loved
night,
it.
everybody.
Cheers. Have a good one.
Cheers. You too.
Bye. Okay, next up we got Samuel, and then we got Freddie from LA. Samuel, what's up?
Hey, what's up? What's up? Not a lot of comment, but no, great for you to put up that eventually, I think the trainer video.
Yeah, it was supposed to come out today. It's gonna
No,
come
no,
out
don't
tomorrow,
worry.
guys.
I
Sorry.
was gonna say even to you, you don't even have to explain to fan. I think you're gonna do what's best, and If people
Oh,
ask to say,
I'm
yeah, it's gonna come up, guys, just wait for it. Kind of
no,
thing.
I mean I released a trailer like a dingus saying it was coming out on
Yeah.
Thursday, January 12th. It part of that was to hold myself accountable because I know I had a ton of editing assignments, but I really wanted it out. But the truth is that look, Brian's done interviews
Yep.
with a couple of places, right? He's done an interview with Aaron Rose, and I think it was good. And he did one with, if I'm not mistaken, Amit Man. If I'm not mistaken, I think
Right.
it was with Amit Man, right? For
Yeah.
Yahoo.
Yeah.
So the thing is that this interview is different, though.
Right.
It's really different because you're not talking to someone who doesn't know about Scottie Barnes.
Yep.
You're talking about literally like the cheerleader of his fan club. So
Yep.
the questions are definitely a lot deeper. And I mean, no offense to Aaron Rose or Amit Man, this is
Sure.
not shade on those guys, but
Sure.
I think I understand basketball a little bit on a
Yep.
different level than those guys. So the questions can go a little bit deeper too. And I also think that on a human level, when two people are talking, there needs to be some level of mutual respect and trust. So if you just think that you're talking to some guy who trains a player and you don't really understand who you're talking to, right? Because I don't really even admire Brian because he trains Scottie. Like I know about Brian because he trains Scottie. I probably wouldn't have known about Handle Life because I don't live in Florida.
Right.
But I admire him because of the work that he does for kids. Also because I was a youth basketball player. Like I was a young basketball player, and I see the
Right.
drills that he's doing, and I see like I attended basketball camps in the United States for basketball in grade 7, grade 8, whatever. And you know, a lot of the stuff that he's doing, I mean, it's probably the benefit of hindsight. He's doing it like 20 years later than when I was that same age. But I told him in the interview, like, there's like an 11-year-old that has like, sorry, there was like a 6-year-old who had a better handle. I think it was a girl, a 6-year-old girl who had a better handle. She was doing this in and out cross, and I was working on that same move when I was 11. You know,
Right.
so it's crazy how
Yep.
evolved his process is. And so if you can't even respect what like the work that he's put in, if you can't even bother to research like the fact that he's a Division 1 player, that he had a scholarship, that you know he played, that he had a stint in pro, like you can't appreciate like the essence of what he's doing,
Yep.
then you can't really have a human conversation with that person, can you? You just have a sort of, these are my talking points about Scottie. This is the information I want about Scottie. So I just think that, and also I think he's a really good person, like a really good person, like from what I've seen him, from what I've gathered. So the conversation is really easy. The Yeah. So I guess, sorry, what I'm trying to say, I'm a little bit sleepy. What I'm
No, no
trying to say is
worries.
that
No worries.
this conversation was like really important to me because it number one, it shines light on a really amazing brand, right? Like what he's doing with Handle Life is amazing.
Yep.
So I love it for that, right? I'm just gonna put that up on the
Yep.
screen right now.
Yep.
The second thing it does is it allows Raptor fans to hear from someone who was actually with Scottie during the off season.
Yep.
Because I mean, here's the funny thing, and I haven't shared the story yet because I don't think I wanted to go into it because it is dramatic. But 2 days ago or 3 days ago, I think, on Breakfast Television, JD Bunkis gets on Breakfast Television and Sid Sixero gets on Breakfast Television, and they're trashing Scottie for his thing with Thaddeus, right? They don't know what happened.
Yeah. Of
They
course.
don't know anybody. They're just reacting to some bullshit clip that wasn't even a full clip. They don't see the start of it. They don't see who started it. They just see, and they go and say, well, who is the second year player to go at this 20-year vet, not a 20-year vet. So I was so upset by this because I thought that the media would cool down after Blake came on, right?
Right.
I really did. I mean, so and so what happened was I got on Twitter at 3 a.m. and I wrote a tweet and I called out David Thorpe, who was the guy who gave the initial interview to Will Liu and JD Bunkis
Yeah.
about how he thinks Scottie didn't work hard this offseason. So the number one thing that I wanted him to do was to go on air because he had previously stated that he had loved Scottie and that, you know, his son had played with him at Florida State, and that I was just like, okay, well, you never met Scottie Barnes. You don't watch the Toronto Raptors. How are you a credible authority? Like, just because your son played, then bring your son on, you know? Like, Have your son talk about it. You're just like regurgitating secondhand information, which is like
Correct.
19 to 25 months old now. It just didn't make sense to me. And as I said, hey, like, can you come on and just can you come on this show or just come on any show and clear the air on the Scottie Barnes stuff? Because these guys are playing broken telephone with your words. And I know you
Yeah.
didn't intend that. 12 hours later, I'm not shitting you, 12 hours later, he was on Will Lou's show and he doubled down. He said it doesn't look like Scottie Barnes worked on his shooting. So it's like, it's really weird at this point. Like he mentioned in passing that he's close with Pascal Siakam's agent. Um,
Yeah, does it sound like a little politics maybe as well in the training world? Maybe is that because I'm gonna use I listened to his initial one when I think Will was still on Yahoo, right? So, and again, you might know more, and so maybe you can correct me on this because he also mentioned, right, for somebody like Scottie, and he was raving about Scottie at then, I think because his son played with him on the team,
mm-hmm.
because he's got this big hand, right, like Kawhi, and guys like Kawhi and Shaq, it's hard to shoot the ball. And he mentioned something like that. I don't know. You might know more. So
Mm-hmm.
even he said at that time, if I recall, and maybe you can listen to that one back then, it would take him time to do it. So how can he now go ahead and say, well, he didn't work on it? Like you said, he wasn't there. If
Well,
you even said initially he needs time to work on it, yeah, then he needs time to work on it. Perhaps, you can maybe fairly unfairly comment, and maybe he should focus on that instead of
right.
you weren't there, David, right? Like I'm speaking David, but you weren't there. How can you make
No,
that
I mean,
comment?
like, and that's
Yeah.
exactly it. Like calling it a guy's work ethic is a very serious like allegation, right? I
And I
mean,
think and I think to be fair to David as well, I think sometimes it's also the guys here for whatever reason, they kind of snowball and kind of let the guy there in terms I don't know if you found that as well. I think the initial interview wasn't like that. I remember the second one he did with Will on
well,
Sportsnet.
the first one was very open-ended, right?
Yeah.
It was, hey, there's this player that we don't know anything about. You seem to know more about him
Yeah.
because your son played with him. Can you offer us a couple of anecdotes and stories?
Yeah.
I don't think David Thorpe at any point during that time predicted that Scottie was going to win Rookie of the Year, that Scottie was some great
Yeah.
scorer. He never said anything about that. If you wanted that take, you literally had to go and dig me up on YouTube to find it. At that point when I was saying yes, he can score a lot better than people are giving him credit for, and that he's going to be like way more NBA ready than people are saying. But I think Brian brought up a really interesting point in our conversation, which was that this is the guy that people were saying would never crack 15 points per game because he was some
Right.
Draymond clone, right? And he's basically giving you 15 points per game each year for the first 2 years, and he's only developing and getting better.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's kind of crazy to me that the benchmark has shifted. And then Eric Koreen wrote an article, which was the midseason Raptors grades, right, in which he gave Scottie a D plus and Fred VanVleet a C minus. And I thought that was really weird. Now I'm not going to go at Eric Koreen the way I go at Doug Smith because I respect Eric Koreen a lot.
Yeah.
Because he's a good writer. Like, I love his work, so I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. So I called him out on it, just not called him out, but
Yeah.
more like asked him to clarify why. And we had a bit of a disagreement about it, but he actually responded. It was very respectful, and
Yeah.
thus proving the point. Two people can have a rational discussion and disagree at the end of
And I
it.
want to give you credit for this, right? Because without you, and I'm not saying Scottie can't speak for himself or Brian, or I mean, Masai's not going to come out. Maybe you were right on that article in response to me and other people questioning, whether they have the power to change the narrative. And I agree everything you wrote. I agree wholeheartedly. But I think you and maybe others in the social media world did change because that narrative was really quite something. I mean, you pointed out, and I think you kind of turned the ship around a little bit, and that credit goes to you. And I'm not just here pandering you because we're on here talking. So I think you
I
deserve that
appreciate
credit.
that, Samuel. Like, I mean, honestly, I'm trying to work at this from a clear heart, right? Like, I love this team,
Yeah,
I love this city, and I love certain players on this team. Like, I love them for what they can achieve in the world and what they can do for their communities, for who they are as people, and for who they are as basketball players. I mean, it takes a hell of a lot of effort and a lot of tough hours to make it to the NBA. And even when I find myself like very, very upset with Fred VanVleet or Pascal Siakam's play, I'm reminded that they hold one of 450 of the most desired jobs in the basketball world, and that they are exceptionally above average at it. So the kind of Herculean effort that it took Fred VanVleet or Pascal Siakam or Gary Trent Jr. Um, Doug Jones says, "Why do you look like you're dying?" I'm not. I'm not dying, my man. I am,
He looks like he needs some
however,
sleep.
running on 42 hours and no sleep.
Yeah, that's
So,
what I
but
figure.
it was yeah. Anyway,
Anyways, I want to say this, and I don't know if it's you or I can't remember who pointed out online, but
sure.
using the Lakers as an example, right? The late great Kobe Bryant, whether you like him or not, I feel is a great player in the NBA lore and history,
Sure.
right? And if you think back, and I don't know if some of you guys are old enough like me, um, nobody complained about them clearing out Nick Van Exel or Eldon Campbell for Kobe or Eddie Jones. Eddie Jones was heralded, the guard.
As the Kobe, yeah,
Yeah,
before
the
Kobe.
Kobe, and then probably they saw something with Jerry West being there as a talent spotter. Maybe
Well,
he
I mean,
says, you
they
know what,
traded
maybe
Vlade
yeah,
Divac for him.
yeah.
If you
So
think
the
about
fan
it,
base in Los Angeles could be like our fan base, and I'm sorry, maybe I'm calling some of you guys out. Like we are always pandering about Fred and this and that and Pascal. Well, look, if Scotty or maybe whoever's coming up is better than these guys, and if we're serious about winning, I really don't care about the 2-game winning streak today because it means nothing because it's not going to get us to the championship level. Now, unless Masai is not serious about it and we want money for tickets, then I agree. But I don't. Nobody complained back then. Well, maybe there are in Los Angeles. I'm not there, but nobody complained about removing Eddie Jones or Nick Van Exel for Kobe, and then he shot those air balls in
I,
Utah.
I,
So
I promise you there was a very vocal
for
minority
sure, that's
in
true.
the Los Angeles sphere, and we're gonna bring on Freddie next from Los Angeles, so he can definitely speak to that. But um, there were a lot of people who were very, very angry. I mean, no, we like to be revisionist historians because
That's
it's
true.
not
That's true.
it's not like it's not even comprehensible today, the caliber of player that Kobe became, that it was even rational for anyone in the world to have been upset that Vlade Divac, a championship level, a
Yeah.
championship level, finals level. He went to the
Yep.
finals with the Lakers as their starting center. He was basically like the original Nikola Jokic in so
Yep.
many ways.
He is.
Point center. Um, and people forget how good Vlade was, and
Well,
for
he
them
was the
to
engine with Chris Webber and Jason. Well, he more
absolutely, I
so
mean, like
on
for
that
six to
Sacramento half court at the offense. That was crazy with Peja and those guys. Oh yeah, sorry.
yeah, no, I mean, look, like he was a above average, not even above average. He was a top 10 center for the next like 5 to 6 years after that trade. So you traded a hell of a lot to get him. I think like I think today his equivalent would be something like Jared Allen.
Yeah.
Like in terms of status in the league. Trading someone like Jared Allen today or Al Horford for, a 13th overall pick who's 17 years old, fresh out of high school, dripping wet 190. It's not going to be a popular move, and especially when you have Shaq on the team and you're already competing for championships. Because the minute you get a max guy like Shaq, and he was the max guy after Jordan retired, he was the best player in the league. You had the best
So
player in the league, and you had a 17-year-old you were trying to appease, and he's coming off the bench for the first year, and then you deal Eddie Jones to clear the way for him. People were pissed off about that. Nick Van Exel was a fan favorite. People hated
yeah,
that too. So I assure you that the path from Kobe to success, and then of course when he airballed those 3 pointers against
yeah,
Utah,
Utah. Yeah.
people hated him.
Oh,
Like
for
they
sure,
really hated him,
for sure.
um, for a while. So I will say that these growing pains are tough. For those for those superstars who try to run before they can walk, maybe take on a little too much. So I think someone brought up Jaylen Brown working on one thing at a time. I think it was Mo who brought up
Yeah. Yep.
Jaylen Brown brought up, well, he worked on one thing at a time. Yeah, sometimes superstars don't work that way though. Like, superstars like Kobe worked on like a lot of things. He didn't just work on shooting, then ball
But
handling, then post moves. No, like I mean, he specialized. Like he tried to be a generalist first, so that he could stay on the court and be a superstar, and then he started he started devoting like a summer to 3-point shooting, or a summer to ball handling, or a summer to post work. So it's interesting, you know. I
But
think.
you mentioned a good point. I think it was I think it was you that
Mhm.
says, look, we have a lot of these players we brought up that are like soldiers, right? Like, which is great. I mean, the late first
What do you mean
round, and
soldiers?
like meaning
Okay,
that
yeah,
they'll
gotcha.
listen to the organization,
Oh,
work
okay, gotcha. I
and from
understand.
that point of view, somebody like Scotty, and I guess maybe we all in this group kind of see the greatness, would
Hmm.
probably not be the same. And like I think you pointed out as well, in the championship run, I mean, Kawhi has a lot more clout. There was a story, I think, was Danny Green in his podcast, and it was
Hmm.
just a funny story, but it kind of demonstrate what you were talking about. I think Nick was trying to bring up a story he had in, when he was coaching in the G League, and Kawhi said, "Well, that was the G League. Let's just bring it on. I'm going to do it my way," or something like that. I can't remember the exact word. I don't want to
Hmm.
rough it up. He
Yep.
basically told Nick, like, I'll do it my way. We're gonna win. I'm gonna take us to the promised land.
Yep.
I think he even told Nick, like, look, I like what you're doing, but he blatantly just say, look, I'm gonna do it my way. Now, if this was Scotty or somebody else other than Pascal or Fred today, that wouldn't work with Nick. I wouldn't imagine. Now, also, my other thing is, I just heard your other comment. I think was with the lady before. I can't remember her name. I apologize.
Chamberlain.
Timberland. Yeah, I agree with you. I think Masai doesn't um, go in there and micromanage Coach Nick, and I respect Coach Nick. But if after so many couple seasons, and we still see this stagnant offense, either the player is not getting it, or you're told we're tanking. But it doesn't seem like it because we're on a
I
three-game
don't
winning
think that
streak.
organizations just go up to their players and say we're tanking. I don't think that's how it works.
Are they reading between the tea leaves, as you maybe suggested?
I mean,
Maybe.
if they end up trading Gary Trent Jr. for a late first round pick, I mean, I think you don't have to guess anymore, right?
Yeah.
Or if
Is
they,
is that what
you
he's
know,
gonna do? Maybe. You
I
think?
hope not. I mean, look, today Vegas released their odds that OG Anunoby is the most likely player to get traded, which really, I think that has much more to do with the demand for OG's services relative to the demand for every other player on this roster. I mean, every single team in the league could use an OG Anunoby, and I'm not sure how many teams could use a Fred VanVleet. So I don't think that has much to do with how much the Raptors want to get rid of him, as much as it does with how much other teams would love to bring him on and would be willing to part with all sorts of tempting assets. I think Vegas would also look at the propensity for the Raptors to make a move. Like, what motivation would they have to make a move right now? Well, they're significantly below 500. They haven't beaten anyone good in almost a month, right? When's the last time we beat a good team, like an above average team? It's been a while. So, they could look at it and say, okay, well, clearly this team is shifting gears, and why wouldn't they
Yeah.
unload OG Anunoby? Well, I mean, for one, he's 25 years old. I think that's a good reason. Number two, I think he really fits, with a winning culture. Um, yeah,
Because
I
because you would think, like, if they see Scotty as a potential building block or cornerstone, right?
but
Then
they
you would
don't see him
surround
as a
him,
potential building block. He is the building block.
right? But you still have to maybe bring another good player, if a great player, play with him, and maybe surround him with people in the same age. And if, no offense to Pascal and Fred, if they're not, like, do them a favor, send them to a winning
I
organization
mean,
as
look,
well.
like I think a lot of people have sort of written off this season for Scotty, right? And here's something that I have just sort of found with evolution myself, where maybe I put in some work last summer to become better at speaking on the mic, or maybe I
Right.
put in, like, for instance, a little known fact is I have a stats degree, so I was part of a think tank for the coronavirus. Like, when it came out, I
Sure.
was working with a team of 67 people.
Right.
So we were communicating with doctors every single day, and epidemiologists, statisticians, like crazy shit for doing data modeling. And I'm one of the only people in the group that has no idea about anything medicine, anything viruses. I don't know anything. So I'm constantly having to mail people asking them for questions. And
Yeah. Yeah.
the more I researched this virus, the more I actually learned about the body. So 2 months later, started cutting out sugar. 2 months
Right.
after that, started getting into shape. Two.
Yeah.
And I was like, how did all this happen now? You know, it's the same thing with training, right? You're training your body, you're going through reps, you're going through high reps
Sure.
in the summer, and you're doing all of this stuff like with the handle, with the shooting, right?
Sure.
And you don't know when all of that is going to click because it has to click at the NBA
Correct.
level. There are a lot of guys who practice hook shots that, you know, they could probably hit over an NBA defender in practice like 30 times in a row, but they can't even bring themselves to take it in a game because they don't have the rhythm to take it. So you don't know if Scottie Barnes waits till next season or turns it around this season, because I tell you, like last year, his December and his February were like night and day, right? Like he was a different player. Like I think at one point he was like, for an entire month he averaged 20, almost 20 points per
Well,
game, like 18 or
I,
19
I,
points per game.
I
So
know you and I, and then myself included, we support Scotty, and I appreciate. I think you in your video, or maybe one of the write up, you did say Brian says, look, be fair. If you gotta check him, and Scotty can take it. So this is what I'll say, and maybe at least
sorry,
yeah,
one sec. This comment, Magurbe, this is your final warning, buddy. Like you've been kind of like going with the same comment every single day, and I'm just kind of getting tired of it. It might be the lack of sleep, but I feel like I would be saying this to you whether I had taken like 15 naps today or not. Cut it out. Like
yeah,
you got something actually valid to say,
absolutely.
sure, say it. I don't think the tone of this chat has been Scotty fanboy at all. So
No,
you can
no.
just
I
you can
think I
miss
think
you
people.
can you can miss me with that energy, man.
Yeah, I think we got to be fair.
Yeah,
I
man.
think I
We
think what
said
the
we
meat.
said he needs to be more aggressive
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
the basket. He needs to be more assertive. He needs to take more shots. Absolutely.
I
I'm
I
not denying that he's had
I
like a rough
I
season so
I
far.
think you and I are older than Scotty. That's definitely for myself, right? I think what I would say, and I think Brian would see it and probably tell him as an older brother, right, as his trainer. Like if you're frustrated, you can't. I mean, it's hard because these NBA players, they're going in, they're banging, they're competing at high level. You will, your emotions do wear on your sleeves. Sometimes you shouldn't put it on your sleeve as much, so somebody can use it
I
against
think
you.
like I disagree. Like so here's the thing. Certain players just run hot. They always will. I'll tell you a story.
Yeah,
Um I don't know how much it was reported back then, but it seems to be like every single person I talk to never hears about this.
yeah,
So there was a time there was a player, Rick Rickert, right?
yeah.
Have you ever heard of Rick Rickert?
Rick Rickert. No, I thought you were mentioning Rick Buchert, the media.
No.
Sorry.
Chat. Let me know if you've heard of Rick Rickert.
What team or year or league?
This would be either 2002 or 2003.
Oh, okay, maybe that's
Anyone
right.
heard of Rick Rickert? No one?
Yeah,
Anyone? Bueller? Okay. So Rick Rickert was once, believe it or not, mocked as a first
yeah,
overall pick. So was my buddy Nemanja Alexandrov. Shout out to Nemanja. So sometimes a player is very tall and very skilled, and they get mocked
sure,
for number one pick, and then they show up at some pro-am or some sort of big exhibit, or
sure.
and they just stink it up, right? There have been a lot of those guys, right? So Rick Rickert was once mocked as a first overall pick, and he went. I think he played college ball in Minnesota, and he had a disappointing year and didn't live up to the hype. And eventually, if I'm not mistaken, he was picked as like the final pick of the second round by the Minnesota Timberwolves as a kind of local kid, right?
Yeah,
So in the summer they're doing off-season stuff, and this Rico Hines stuff is not new, right? This has been happening forever. Maybe people
yeah,
don't tape it, but guys meet
yeah,
up in the summer, play
sure.
with their team, and so he gets at Kevin Garnett because Garnett's at this workout, and he scores on him. And then the next time down, Garnett goes up on him, and I think he blocked him. And then he goes up again, and he scores on him again. And that was the last time because Garnett punched him in his face right there, because he considered it disrespectful. So you see what I mean? Like Kevin Garnett, Michael Jordan,
Sure.
Kobe Bryant. These are all guys who've gotten into a ton of fistfights, right? Fistfights with their own team.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, I,
Happened with Draymond recently.
Right. Now, last I checked, I don't remember Scottie Barnes ever getting into a fist fight with one of his teammates, so that's ever come out. But I do know that he's voiced displeasure with, certain, like being benched or something. There was like a story in Eric Kareen's
Sure.
story in The Athletic once where he apologized to an assistant coach for losing his cool. Look, man, you don't you don't take the emotion out of the player. You don't lose that. I mean, this is one of the worst things that you can do to a competitive athlete is
No,
to
no,
take
it's this
is to
this is the
take out
one
that
where he
stuff, right?
looks dejected, like if he's tired. Like I'm not saying there's anything wrong with having emotion. I think somebody like yourself or Brian or somebody close to circle would probably tell him
I'm
the
not
same
close
thing.
to Scotty's circle.
No, no,
Like
I'm
I
just
don't
saying
know
with someone
Scotty.
I apologize, but somebody in
And I
yeah.
do want to clarify, like I don't like. Here's the thing, though. Like you started this out with like I'm older, Brian's older, he so and so's older. I gotta tell you, I don't think anyone has the slightest clue the pressures
That's true.
of being
That's
Scotty
true.
Barnes, right?
That's true. To
Like
be fair, yeah, you're right. Yeah.
like none of us are making $8 million a year. None of us have the pressure of living out our day-to-day life on, well, I guess I'm living out my day-to-day life in front
Yeah,
of like
yeah, that's true.
200 to 300 people, but
Yeah.
I'm not living it out in front of like the national media. I don't have to go out and perform every single day. I don't have to play hurt. I don't have to be 21. I don't have to be like so far away from my family. I don't have to deal with locker room politics, even though
That's
I'm
true.
like a really good-hearted person.
That's true.
So I feel like
Good point.
for this guy to come out, change his shot, change everything, navigate, life in the NBA, all the temptations that come with that. I mean, there's like, do you know how many women
Oh,
go at guys like this? How many temptations there are for professional athletes? For him to keep his head on straight, for him to continue just being himself is such a remarkable thing. I thought I was really mature for a 21-year-old. I think Scotty's like 100 times more mature than I was when I was 21. Like, cause I don't think that I would have dealt with a
yeah.
lot of the situations that he's dealing with right
So
now at
I'm gonna
all.
say I'm with you on the title of the show. I'm trying to figure out what we're trying to do. We're on a 3-game winning streak. If Victor is as good as he's advertised, I mean,
You
who
can't lose
knows?
all of them, man. Like someone's
Uh,
got to win a game, right? Unfortunately, someone's got to win the game. Like these are um
well,
yeah.
Pop is on schedule. Pop is on schedule with the Spurs.
Hey man, smart move. I mean, he's got a pretty
Yeah, I,
competent.
I, I, I would probably as one time, and I can't speak for Masai because he knows what he's doing, and I agree. Bobby as well, and
Mhm,
Nick as well. Like even though we chastise, the offense, but
mhm.
this would be maybe one of those times, like if we're getting a generational talent, potentially doesn't guarantee if you have the worst record, you'll get the first pick. But maybe because if we don't attract, I mean, we do attract free agents, but I'm talking top 5 level that you either need to trade for them or maybe you need to draft them. Maybe this is the
Mhm.
year. I don't
Awesome.
know what. Anyways, I'll let you go. I
Okay.
appreciate it.
All
Great
right.
soul, as the friend said.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Cheers. Cheers,
Cheers. Bye
Samuel.
bye.
Have a good night. And last up, we got Freddie. And final thing we're gonna do before we sleep, we're gonna try to keep this a little quick. I know Freddie's been waiting for a while. Last thing we're gonna do is we're gonna do a community vote. So the community vote is going to be grading the off season, and so we're just going to go player by player. We're gonna go through the top 7, 8. We're not gonna give Jeff Doughton a grade. We're not gonna give we're not going to give Otto Porter a grade. Unfortunately, he's injured. But we're gonna go through the main rotation guys, and I'm gonna ask you guys in the comments to flash what you think their grade should be at the midseason mark. We're gonna see if we agree with Eric Kareen or not. Next up, we got straight from LA. We got Freddie Van
Hey,
Vliet.
how's it going, man? It's good to be back, man.
How are you?
Doing good, man. I'm glad we got this sweep, but I mean, 114 points though, that's too much, but I'll take the win any day though.
Yeah. I mean, giving up 50% back-to-back games against a pretty bad team is terrible. What do you think's going wrong with the defense?
I think it's just we don't have enough size and plus a lot of offensive rebounds. I was actually looking at the stats right now. I was actually doing homework and looking at the stats at the same time. Rebounds, the Hornets had 42 rebounds and we only had 32, only 10 points difference, but the Hornets had at least one more offensive rebounds, which was 9, and we had 8. But I think we just don't have enough size to rebound. I think that's our main issue, and
So
that's
you
why our
think
defense
this,
hasn't
you
been
think
doing that well.
the defense is bad because of a lack of center?
Yeah, I think because mainly lack of center and plus, I mean, OG Anunoby's been stepping up on defense. I'll give credit to that. I think it's just Fred VanVleet and Malachi Flynn. They really don't play any. They play defense, but it's not there. Like, I feel like it's missing from them.
Fred VanVleet has, historically been a very good defender. Very good. Like,
Very good. Yeah, I remember in the 2019 NBA Finals, he really stepped up. Yeah.
hmm.
Yeah, defensively and offensively too. But I'll say mainly size has been our big issue since the get go. But that's really cool that you're gonna do a grade for the off season. So that's gonna be exciting.
No, it's not for the off season. It's for this season, like the mid
Oh, for this
season.
season. Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know how to grade the off season. It hasn't happened yet. But you mean grading last off season? That would be interesting.
That
Um,
would be interesting. Yeah.
yeah. If I guess I'm curious, what do you make of Pascal's performance tonight? I mean, he had 35 points on 13 shots. It's hella efficient.
Consistent, very consistent. He was on point today. He just teared up the Hornets, which I'm really glad he stepped up. I mean, OG Anunoby did pretty good. I mean, 15 points is not bad. I mean, better than nothing.
Hmm.
And Precious Achiuwa did pretty good off the bench today, actually, which I was impressed.
He's provided a boost for that bench unit. He's definitely the best rebounder. And if that 3-point shot is coming back and he can make fewer decisions with the ball in his hand. But like I like encouraging mistakes in young players. I think it's good. You don't want to stifle that,
Mhm.
right? But you
Yeah.
also don't want to over encourage the same mistakes over and over. And I feel like he's kind of doing a few things that he was doing a little bit of last year. But last year he got very comfortable, and towards the second half of the season, man, it would be hard to argue he wasn't a top 5 player on your team. Like, he was very good. Well, I don't know, top 5 might be a stretch, but at least he was one of your top 6 or 7 guys, which is not where he started out the season, right? So I think it's fair to say that Precious Achiuwa has been, like, relative to what they were expected to produce. Who do you think has been a bigger disappointment this year, Scottie, Precious, or Fred? Because I could argue all three have had a pretty bad season so far,
Yeah, that's a
relative
good
to
question.
expectations.
Yeah, yeah. Realistically, that's a great question because I mean, yeah, all those three have been struggling this season. But if I had to choose one, I would say Scotty because he won Rookie of the Year last year, and he did so well last year. And I don't know where he just started his points started to decrease, and I was like, what's going on?
How
But
much,
Scotty
if
mainly,
without looking, how much do you think his points have decreased?
I forgot. I'm trying to remember how much I think he averaged 18 points last season. I hope I'm not wrong. I'm terrible at math, so my bad if I'm saying random numbers. But I
Um,
think
yeah, I mean, you are definitely wrong. He averaged 15 points per game last year, and he's averaging roughly 15 points per game this year. After this
oh
game, I
wow,
think he's at
only by 3
14.8.
points. Yeah, so it
Yeah,
decreased by three.
and also he's playing fewer minutes this year. So I just want to check. I'm gonna pull up his per 100 numbers just so that we have
Okay.
a clear idea of just how poorly Scottie Barnes has regressed. Um,
Yeah, and plus I know Nick Nurse has been giving a lot of minutes to Pascal, Scotty, Fred, but I know people are complaining about Jeff Doughton Jr., which I would like to see him play, but I know he's the rookie, so
he's not a
hopefully he'll get.
rookie.
Oh no, actually undrafted. Yeah, he's undrafted. My bad, my bad.
No, a rookie can be undrafted, but he's not a rookie. He played for the Orlando Magic last year, man.
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
So
Yeah,
he's
yeah, my
not a
bad.
rookie because, like to be a rookie, I mean, Jorge Garbajosa was a 27-year-old rookie, and I believe there was, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken, Milos Teodosic was a 32 or 33-year-old rookie. You can be a rookie when you're 40. If you've never played in the
40.
NBA, if it's your first year in the NBA, you're a rookie.
Oh, okay,
All right,
okay.
we all learned something. Okay, so these are Scotty's numbers per 100 possessions. So last year he averaged 21.7 points. This year he's down to 21.4. Okay, so it's basically the same. Last year he averaged 10.6 rebounds. This year he's down to 10, basically the same. Last year he had 4.9 assists. This year he's up to 6.9 assists. The steals and blocks are almost identical. The free throw attempts are now almost identical. The 3-point attempts are up
Mm,
slightly. The only thing that he's doing differently this year, guys, is he's shooting 5% worse from the field. And if you want to know why that is, probably is a combination of I would think injury, lack of spacing. One of the most interesting things about that conversation that I had with Brian was an exploration of space. Um, if you recall, like a few chats ago, there was a caller, Ruckus, who made a point to say that, hey, like, Scotty actually does well with Fred, and that is true. And there's a reason for that, because Fred can space the floor. Fred is not the only player in the league who can space the floor. There are 140 or 150 players who can do that. Unfortunately, the Raptors insist on playing a bunch of them who can't. So when you're going to play Scotty with centers, like, you're going to play him with 2 centers, sometimes 3 centers, like I have seen the lineup of Scottie Barnes plus some player plus Koloko, Thaddeus Young, and Chris Boucher. Like, that's 3 non-shooters. I mean, that's okay from the corners, but that's 3 guys who kind of clog up the paint. You need space. The bigger the player, like, the easier they are to guard in a way on the perimeter, because I don't know, there's just a concept of physics here. And unfortunately, it's lost on a lot of people. But I think if you look at the assist numbers, they're directly correlated to how well your shooters are shooting. How many times would you say Scottie Barnes gets guys wide open? Like, he gets them open all the time. If they're just bricking threes, I mean, that 6.9 could easily be 7.9. And now we're talking like a completely different season. And it's the same thing with the shooting having a relationship with the defense, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you miss more shots, you're having to guard in transition, defense goes downhill. But also, if you keep missing shots, teams keep sagging the paint. Now you're really making life hard for a guy like Scottie Barnes, who maybe can't shoot as well. So it's a little bit of a catch-22, but I think he has actually had a better season this year than last season, and I think it's only getting better. So he's not
He's developing
regressed.
really good. Yeah. He's gonna get better every year. I could feel it.
You've done
But
a
yeah,
180. You've done a 180 in this call. I love it. Yeah,
yeah,
you started out by he's taken the biggest step back in the world, and now he's good. But I mean, like, guys, this is word up to anyone out there. Like, if you have an idea about a player, go check the stats, go check the film,
numbers.
go break
Yeah.
it down. Don't
Mhm.
just trust your eyes, because sometimes, the NBA game is really fast. Really fast. Everything's going fast. And if you operate under the idea that, hey, Scottie Barnes averaged 18 points per game last year, then yeah, every single time you see him shoot like 1 for 7 and he has 7 points at the end of the night, or 5 points at the end of the night, you're gonna be like, wow, what's wrong with this guy? But yeah, like, I mean, his numbers are almost identical.
Identical.
They're
Okay.
actually better. They're actually
They're
better than
actually
last
better.
year.
Which I'm surprised. I'm not even gonna lie to you, man. But no, I'm being patient with Scotty though. It's just he's learning and he's growing, and I feel confident. And like you said earlier, he's very mature for a 21-year-old. I'm not gonna lie, I'm 22, but to me he looks very more mature than me. I'm not gonna lie. So I give props to Scotty for that. So
Thanks for joining us, Freddie. Peace to LA. Have a good
all
night.
right, man. I send a DM to your Instagram, but hopefully we'll collab soon for sure, man. But
Okay,
it was nice
awesome.
meeting you today.
Thank you. See you. Bye. Okay, it's grade time. We're going to try to make this quick. We're at 1:50, and I know in the past I've said like, hey, 3 more minutes, and then there'll be like 18 more minutes. But this one I want to try to do it rapid fire. So we're going to do Raptor grades, and I'll tell you if I agree or disagree. So we're doing Raptor grades right now. So this is mid-season up until this point. Okay, so we'll start right at the top. Pascal Siakam. Okay, what is the grade for Pascal Siakam thus far, guys? Help me out. A. Okay, we got Phoenix play with an A. Clutch Tatum. You can't be serious. F. Come on, man. A. There's a B plus. A. Jason Williams. B plus. There's a C plus. Phoenix play. I don't. I mean, I see where you're coming from on that. I don't think it's disingenuous, but clutch. That's fine. Yo, this is the funniest comment of the night. If you're worse than Tatum, then F. That's funny. Yo, Clutch Tatum, you don't need to troll this chat, man. I'm a huge Jason Tatum fan, and actually, if you want my honest opinion, he's one of my favorite players in the NBA. So please don't trash this chat. Mark Anderson, really? A D? I thought you were a big Pascal fan, man. All right. Jerome Costanis says, leadership, he loses points. I mean, everyone isn't meant to be like a motivational speaker leader, right? Like, he leads by example. He puts in the reps. I don't necessarily, you guys already know my thoughts on Pascal Siakam, obviously, but yeah, I don't think it's hard for me. Like if I had to offer a grade, it would probably be like an A minus, to be honest. Like I'm being completely sincere. I would give him an A minus. I don't love it. I don't love some of his playmaking and ball dominance, but it's hard for me to argue that he hasn't been like your best option to score. And I don't know where you'd be without him to some extent. I also think the defense is a little bit tricky for me. So that's why it gets an A minus. It's like the ball stopping on offense and the nosedive on defense. But you know what? It gave Scottie a pass on defense for many months because of the ankle and the knee. And, you know, I think Pascal's defense has been worse since he's come back. So maybe it's the groin. All right. Next up, we got OG Anunoby. All right. Next up, OG Anunoby. What do we got for OG? Is that B for OG? Oh, wow. Okay. All right. A plus, B, B plus, A, B plus, F. Yo, for real? Are you kidding me? C. Love to see you explain a C. Mainly we're seeing A minuses, A's. A minus from B last year. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay, Mark Anderson, are you kidding me, man? You just gave the two best performing Raptors by most estimates back-to-back Ds. I don't know if you're just trolling, but I'm going to stop pulling your comments up. How he has a B when they're making him a spot-up shooter. Clutch Tatum, I don't think you're watching Raptor games, bro. OG is peaking. Really? At 25, you think he's peaking? All right, B minus. I hate his shot diet. Those mid-range shots have to go, man. And his balance on I think that's fair criticism. I think he does a lot of other stuff. I think he's been a better connector this year. I think he's been just very good defensively. But I will tell you, I think a little bit overblown defensively. I don't buy the defensive player of the year stuff. I mean, he's racking up steals, but he's been your best defender for sure. But I don't think he's having DPOY impact. Like I've seen defensive players of the year. I mean, he's fifth-ish for me. Yeah, I agree. Like his role on defense is so hard. I love his season. If you want a grade for me for OG, probably be an A minus. It's probably the same as Pascal, to be honest. And also, I really like his improved playmaking. It doesn't look pretty, I know that, but it's effective. Like he gets off the ball sometimes. But I agree, those mid range like weird pull ups, like he did one today, was not great. Next up, GTJ. This ought to split people up. Okay, Gary Trent Jr. B plus, C, B, 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 so B, 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 B plus, C, B plus, C minus, C plus, B minus, C plus. Wow. Okay, Mark Anderson, if you, wow, okay. For real, man? So Pascal got a D from you. OG got a D from you. Gary got a C from you. Okay, I see where you're going. You're a Malachi fan. I can tell. All right, B plus, B plus, B plus. All right, we get it. Don't trade him. Don't trade him, because I guarantee you most of this roster is not getting a B for a midseason grade. All right. Now shall we go to the controversial ones? Okay. Let's go with Scottie first. Scottie Barnes. Okay. We go with Scottie Barnes. All right. Scottie Barnes grade. This is just a heads up. Eric Kareem gave him a D plus. So we got C plus, B plus, B, B plus, A times a million. And Y4 Raps, I appreciate you. A minus, B plus, B plus, B plus, sorry, B, B plus. All right, so basically we're not Mark Anderson. Mark Anderson is basically just against Vision 6'9". Anyone who fits Vision 6'9" gets an F from Mark Anderson. Vision 6'9" is ruining Mark Anderson's life. I'm pretty sure. Okay, B plus, B, B plus, B. Okay, so I mean, aside from trolls, I don't see like C's and D's. Okay, just saw one. Just feeling himself because he got Rookie of the Year. Man, you're the same person who said that okay, yeah, we see you, man. Look, I'm not gonna do that thing that other people do where it's like, oh, this person doesn't like the player that I like, so you're out of the chat. Just try to keep it respectful. Um, if you think he's feeling himself because he got Rookie of the Year, I suggest you check out the interview tomorrow. Maybe. I don't know. If you work at anything as hard in your life as Scottie Barnes worked on basketball this summer, you get pretty far. All right. A. Okay. So I feel like we just gave Eric Kareem the people's elbow. This is just throwing in. I've made it a point to reference something like wrestling related. The last 3 chats. It's kind of funny. I'm just throwing it in there. Ever since I used Scott Hall, wrestling is just kind of coming back to me a little bit. So I don't know. I guess we gave the Athletic the people's elbow on that one. All right, next up. I know where this is going. Unfortunately, this community, I know where this is going. Next up, we got Fred Van Vliet. And I almost screwed him over by writing Val Vliet, but okay. Fred Van Vliet. All right. Next up, Fred Van Vliet. Yes, I agree, Jerome. Rest in peace, Scott Hall. All right. F. C. F. Oh, Mark Anderson. An A for Fred Van Vliet. Yo, I can't. Would he get an A plus if he bottomed out and just shot under 30% for the season? Like what are you talking about, man? C minus, C minus, C. Past 3 games, A. Before that, he gets a D. C minus, D minus, C. Okay, we got an A plus for Fred Van Vliet. Wow, okay. C plus, F minus. Yo, Country Kong, I gotta be honest. I don't think I've ever seen an F minus in my life. I don't even know what an F minus is. I thought it was just a straight F. I don't think F plus, F minus even exists, but that's straight up comedy. I think the issue is shooting much less, passing much more, all others benefit. C. Thank you for your review there. D plus, F, C minus, C minus. We got B minus. C plus is fair. No way, Mark. Mark is a Fred stan. J Ships. Really? How do you how? That's curious to me, but all right. I don't agree, but that obviously. Um Oh my God. Yeah. I think that gets comment of the night. Didn't get the little joke. Oh, Google it, man. You got to Google Fred Van Vliet algorithm to get that joke. All right. Next up, we got our rookie in the middle, Christian Coloco. All right, Christian Coloco, midseason grade. Go Raptors. Pensar basketball chat. I think that D is for Fred Van Vliet, but Sean, C is that C for Christian Coloco? Yep, C, B plus, B, B, C, B, B, A minus, B, B minus. He is pretty much the bottom of the Raptors in most analytics. To be fair, despite all the potential that he's flashing. B plus, B minus, C plus, B. Tamberlin makes a very good point there. Change it to a B minus. His drop defense is pretty poo-poo. B minus, C plus, D plus. To be fair, most rookie big men foul a lot. So I think Pascal Siakam was a foul machine in his first year as well. So you live with it. He hit that 3 though. That's true. He's clutch. Okay. Next up, Precious Achiuwa has not played enough minutes. We're gonna do Thaddeus Young, who's had some very good highs and some very low lows so far. Thaddeus Young, and then I think we do Malachi, right? We'll have to do Malachi because he's actually played minutes. I don't see the point in doing Delano Banton, to be honest, guys. Kem Birch, etc. These guys just haven't played enough. Oak Tree, A, is that A for Malachi? Okay, all right. B plus, C plus, C, C. All right. B, cool. Yo, you and your pluses and minuses on Fs, man. Like, that's pretty funny. C plus, C plus, C. Well, why are you going after his wife on Twitter? I'm honestly, I'm kind of happy for her that she blocked you. No offense. C, C plus, C. I'm not trying to be rude. I don't think it's okay to go at his wife. I mean, she's a very nice person. Why would you do that? That is still on the Raps. Yes. C plus, C. Okay, so Mark, do you know Fred VanVleet? Because this is getting kind of weird at this point. Your grades aren't actually like making much sense to me. And yet I keep flashing them up because I feel like the viewers will want to know when they watch this chat replay tomorrow morning. They want to know what did Mark think? MSJ F plus. Okay. Banton has been banished. No more minutes. Clutch Tatum, that's not accurate. The incident was a bit of a tussle between Scottie and Thaddeus Young, and as I heard, some people unfortunately went after Thaddeus Young's wife on Twitter and Instagram, which is not cool. Banton isn't NBA caliber. I disagree. I think he can be. I'm not a huge fan, but I think he can be an NBA level, like fringe rotation player, like a 10th, 11th guy on the bench. Okay, Clutch Tatum, I know you're not talking about fans being toxic, right? Like, no offense. I've been to Boston. I worked in Boston for a bit. Like, chill. Yeah, it could. Boston is like, no offense. Like, if you want to talk about fan bases with some very twisted histories that probably shouldn't talk shit on other forums, definitely one of them. And by the way, I'm a Celtics supporter, so don't go there. C. Okay, good stuff. Okay, we're going to move on from Thad, and we're going to go to Malachi Flynn. Malachi Flynn, who, despite starting out the season kind of blistering hot, didn't get minutes. Now that he's not blistering hot, he's getting all the minutes his heart wants, and that to me is just weird. But D, F, B minus, F, bro. Are you related to Malachi Flynn? Incomplete. C, A plus. Wow, really? Are you Malachi Flynn's burner account? That's some strange stuff. Now, in my sleepy state, am I missing any players? Write it in the chat. Like, is there a player that I'm missing that you think you would wanna see a grade on? Don't say Jeff Doughton. He has not played enough. It's too small a sample size. Although, if you feel like going on Twitter or Reddit and creating a free Jeff Doughton thread, I will not stop you. Otto Boucher. Oh, Chris Boucher. Wow, Chris Boucher. Of course. How did I forget? Chris Boucher. Don't worry, we're going to do Nick Nurse last. Nick Nurse is going to be the final grade. Chris Boucher. All right. Next up, Chris Boucher. And then we will do Juancho, and then we will call it a day. F, F, F. That was two Fs by the same person. Those Fs cancel each other out as per mathematics, so you get nothing. D plus, C minus, C, C, C minus, F, F. Really? We're that down on Chris Boucher. An older Coloco? No, he's not. No, he's not. Not at all. You know, for Mark, everything's like F or A. Who did you give a C to, Mark? I think you gave a C to somebody. Did you give a C to... I don't remember who you gave a C to. You did give someone a C, but everyone else is just in straight A's or F's. That explains a lot, to be honest. Okay. You're trying to be funny now. Okay. Cool. All right. Has Ron Harper ever played? Yes, he has. Why don't you can Google that pretty easily, I'm pretty sure. They have the internet in Boston. I checked. Okay. Bo Cruz. And by calling him Bo Cruz, I have just officially rigged it for him, because now you will subconsciously add extra grades to him because of your love for hustle, which is unfortunately how subconscious biases work. Who is Bo Cruz? All right, Clutch Tatum. You're doing too much. B plus, B, C, D, D, B. To be honest, that's sort of funny, right? Because that was my critique of that pickup. I thought Juancho Hernangomez was a worse defender than Yuta Watanabe. I didn't understand, but I thought he was a better shooter than Yuta Watanabe, and that has just flipped on its head. It's so interesting. But I like a lot of the off-ball stuff that he does. You need somebody to do some of the stuff that he's doing. I know that box score is not catching it, but I think he's been pretty average. Okay, so very quickly before we get to Nick Nurse, my grades. So Pascal Siakam, A minus. OG Anunoby, A minus. Scottie Barnes, B minus. Fred VanVleet, C minus. Gary Trent Jr., C plus. C plus. Chris Boucher, C minus. Juancho, C plus. Thaddeus Young, C minus, because his defense has tailed off a lot. And Malachi Flynn, I want to say C plus. Like, he's not been bad or, necessarily terrible, but yeah. Yeah. Okay. Now the final of the night, and then we're gonna get the hell out of here. And I've totally not gotten out of here in 2 hours, even though I'm dead tired. But Nick Nurse approval rating, just in case Nick Nurse sees this. Oh boy. The first grade for Nick Nurse is in. D D C. Oh my gosh. Oh, we have our first E of the night. Brian, how you doing?
Yo, what's
Yo,
good?
chat, say hey. Say
Chat, what's
hello.
good? Chat.
Chat, in case you didn't draw the connection,
Hold on.
definitely go give Brian a follow on Instagram at bmacfisher. What's up, Brian? Checking the chat. Yo, oh my god. Someone said tell Scotty he's a cutie for me. All right.
Hey, how, hey, how do I?
Stop what? Oh no. We lost Brian. All right, we'll see if he comes back. Hello, hello. What's up? What happened to you?
Hey, how do I? I'm here. Like, what do I do? Do I pause the YouTube and just talk through the
Yeah,
StreamYard?
yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, you take down the YouTube. You won't be able to see the chats, but I see the chat, so I'll pull anything up. I'll pull
Perfect.
anything. You can probably see it on. Can you see the comments on screen if I pull it up right here? If
Yeah, I can see it.
now call Scotty, pre-recorded. No, what are you doing? What's up?
I got it. What's good, man? How you doing?
43 hours. I'm trying to see if I can fall asleep on screen. That's gonna be
You
fun.
might
Kwame did it
you
the
might
other
sleep for
day.
like 2 days.
I'm not gonna sleep for 2 days. Come on, man. I grind. Someone said you look like Gilbert Arenas. Come on. What'd you think of the game tonight?
I think they're playing better. I think ball movement helps. Sharing the ball helps. It just makes the game a lot easier for a lot of people. Um, I think Scotty played well. I think Pascal did a great job. I think guys are starting to find their roles, and I think it helps that OG's being very aggressive too. So I think like when everybody's scoring like 18, 17, you have multiple guys doing that, and then you have Pascal, your big scorer. I think that helps.
Mm, what do you think of one thing I noticed with Scotty is he's just way more engaged in the offense. Like
Yeah.
he's got way more gravity even in like that mid post area. He's making decisions faster. I told you in the first half it's like the best I've seen him play.
hmm
I know he had some like really good performances last year, but like something about the way he's moving. Is he feeling better
He's sleeping.
right now?
Nah, he's sleeping a lot, but nah, I think he's feeling a lot better. I think he had to get adjusted to sometimes he was the primary ball handler, and tonight he's more. I mean, last few games he's been more so like the
Yeah,
Jokic
yeah,
role.
yeah.
So I think he just had to get adjusted to it, and I think collectively as a team they're starting to move the ball better. He's gonna play better when the team is plays that way, as opposed to like the ISO ball. You know what I mean? Like when the ball's moving and flowing,
Hey man,
and
they got over 30 assists again.
yeah,
I
they
feel
still
like
shot the ball like shit, but it was the Hornets, so you can get away with it.
yeah, I mean 34% from 3. I mean, given the team's benchmark is like I don't know, like anything above 30%, they usually win the game, right? I mean, like the standards are pretty low here. We're not talking like Curry's Warriors, but
Right.
I feel like that's 3 straight games where I feel like Scotty's got his fingerprints on the game, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Um, Country Kong, he said, ask him to grade Fred VanVleet. I don't think you're going to get the answer you're looking for, buddy.
Um,
um,
I think he played. I think the last couple of games, I think he's playing better. I think he should just be like more so of a initiate the offense and be a spot up shooter. Um, and then pick points in the game where they need a bucket. I think he went to the basket a couple times when the offense was kind of stalling. They didn't score for a while, and then he just picked his poison. I think he was more so like a traditional point guard tonight. I think that just frees up, OG and I think Gary took like 19 shots. I think you need everybody to be around like 14, 15 shots. Pascal gonna take, obviously more. And I think Fred just needs to just pick his spots and just play kind of like the traditional point guard role. I think that'll help. I think that'll help him. That'll take some of the load off of him, the pressure off of him. And then, he still comes through in the clutch and hits a big three when they need it. So I don't think he
no, I
did.
mean, for sure, that's like a couple of games in a row where he kind of comes down quick and, takes that three. Matt Devlin loses his mind. But so I'm kind of curious. Like, I mean, for me, my talking point on this. I think the ball should be in the hands of the people who are the biggest threats to score, and like you got to be a threat to score from everywhere. I think Scotty was just like, you can't put Mason Plumlee on him,
Right.
25 feet from the basket, and not expect to die every single time. Like he should be able to just shed him so fast and then force the second defender. So it's like tonight, LaMelo Ball and Terry Rozier are not good defenders. So you can get away with Fred VanVleet being more of a traditional point guard. And I
Yeah.
mean, if you're talking like break down your man, get into the paint type of traditional point guard, like, or are you talking more of like a Patty Mills traditional point guard?
I mean, just picking your spots, you know what I mean? Not being like, I wouldn't say like,
Not pressing.
yeah, not pressing and just picking your spots. I think he still had like 8 or 9 assists. So he was still being aggressive, but it's not so relying on like trying to score the ball off the dribble, like just being a part of the offense. And if the offense is working, like they still foul, like the ball still found him a couple times, and he had his opportunity. So I think the team is so like you have so many like good players on the team that you already have like Pascal dominating the ball and he's your main guy. You don't need two guys like that. You need everybody else to kind of pick their spots. And I think that's kind of what you saw today. And I think, I think the ball, whenever they're in the ball screen and they hit the short roll, like good things are going to happen. I think Gary did a much better job today of hitting the short roll. I don't think he's ever hit the short roll his whole life. Um, I think he hit the short.
That's true.
I think he hit the short roll like 2 or 3
He would
times,
agree with that.
which was crazy. And I think, like even though he didn't shoot the ball well, he was able to get like 19 tonight, and he had a couple backdoor cuts and different things like that.
And Scotty found
So
him wide open for a lot of those
yeah,
threes. And like, okay, so just chat for context. Brian's a point guard, right? He played point. Talk to me about quality of passes, because there's been a lot of talk about like how well players shoot off of when they're receiving a pass from a certain player. And it seems like, to me at least, playing basketball, there were some guys who just threw it soft into my hands and it was just easy, and then some guys were just always throwing it out of my pocket, throwing it late, finding me out of rhythm. There's so much of that going on in this offense because you have so many guys who are initiating it, right? Like you got
hmm
constant rotations. Like, okay, like who is the point guard? Sometimes Precious is the point guard. Like Thinking Basketball just did this entire episode where they're like, it's kind of like nobody's the point guard and everyone's the point guard. It's basically, if you're initiating from the top, you're the point guard for that position, right? Like,
hmm
is Embiid a point guard when he's initiating from the top? So, but to me, it's like there is a very seismic difference between like gifted passers and the looks that they create for guys and finding them in their spots versus guys who just sort of see one play ahead and they're like, oh, that guy's open in the corner. It's a red shirt in the corner. Let me throw it however I can get it to him. And like the quality of Scottie's passes, to me, it's like that unlocks this offense.
Yeah, because I think he always hits guys in their pockets so they can do something with the ball after they receive it. So it's easy. I think two nights ago when he was on a fast break and he went up and under and he made a bounce pass to the corner and it was right in OG's pocket.
Mm-hmm.
You know, those passes when the guys are making like those pockets and guys passes, it's easy to let it go or it's easy to make another play off of it. Um I think there's just for so long everybody on the team wanted to, get theirs more so and they didn't really trust their teammates as much as they should. And now you're seeing guys really trust each other and now you're seeing the game being played a lot easier and it's a lot more and it takes a lot of pressure off of Pascal. At the end of the game he can kind of be the closer instead of like second quarter. You know what I mean? Trying to be the closer. And I know you just did the vote on Nick Nurse. I think Nick is doing a great job now. He's figuring out the rotation on, like he'll put Gary and Scottie with the second group. You know what I mean? Or pressure with
It's just
Malachi.
hard. It's hard for guys to get a rhythm if they're getting like 3 minutes and 4 minute
Yeah,
runs, and
but I think
especially when there's trust issues. Because if they get 3-4 minutes and they don't perform in those 3-4 minutes, like
mhm,
they're not playing for 3 games. That's like, to me, that's, like there's guys like Daryl Morey and Sam Hinkie. They're really smart, right? But there's like a human element to basketball that I feel like sometimes really smart people need to remember, that these are human beings you're dealing with, and like there's actual like human pressures. So like, yeah, on a computer their 4 minutes were terrible, but it's like in reality, like you were terrible for giving them 4 minutes. I don't know.
right.
It's like a sort of balance to it, because
Yeah,
the computer is not going to say that this guy is frustrated with his role on the team, or that 4 minutes is not enough, etc. Like the computer just measures it per minute, per possession, etc. And it's just like sometimes that can be very misleading for guys who aren't getting a good opportunity. And I think you're seeing that with Yuta Watanabe, right? Like you saw him
yeah,
last year, right? He wasn't shooting like this,
yeah,
right? But now he's like balls out blazing, and it's like, why? Is it because of Jacques Vaughn trusting him? Because KD and Kyrie are like sort of empowering him a little bit more? And it's like, isn't that the role of your leaders? Like,
yeah,
like last week, not last week, last chat, I kind of did a breakdown of who I blame for this season and how it's going, and I put 15% on the players, and I think I put like 15 to 20% on coaching, and I put like 5% on management, 5% on ownership. The rest of it I just stuck on leadership.
yeah,
To me, it's like leadership needs to step up and sort of put people in their place, and say, okay, well, you want to play point, but you can't play point right now. So that's just what you're going to do, or you're not going to play. I don't know. There needs to be communication. Leadership's like a lot about communication and accountability. And to me, it's like, it's a little bit weird to see Gary getting called out for doing the same thing that someone else is doing on the court, and they're not getting called out because they're more part of the plans. To me, that, like, if I was a player in that locker room, like, how would you react?
yeah. Yeah, I agree, but I think also to be that devil's advocate, you could also say that if I'm the leader, I may have a better understanding on how I can motivate, Gary and other players. I may crush your soul if I call you out in the media, because you may be that sensitive, regardless of who it is. It may be different ways on like trying to get to people, and also you may over the course of a career, however long, you may learn that person a little bit better and you understand how to motivate them or how to push them or not, which could or may or may not be, what I mean, what it
That's
is.
a really fair point. And I mean, I never thought about it that way, because I saw red, right? Because when Nick Nurse called out Gary Trent Jr., all I'm thinking is, you got a guy who's doing the same stuff he was doing last year. He's just shooting a little bit worse and trying maybe a little bit less, and but he's in a contract year, and it's like, that is political. The contract year thing is, it is political, because you benching him in a contract year, kind of calling him out for some stuff that maybe some other guys are doing on your team as well. To me, that feels. But kudos to Gary Trent, man.
Yeah,
Completely turned me around, like
yeah,
on him, because I was very much in the camp of does not see the floor. You know my views on Gary Trent, and it's
yeah.
like to see him just respond to this with like
I think he,
positivity. He's not
yeah,
complaining. Played 18 minutes, never said anything. I love it. I mean, he's earned a fan for life in me.
yeah. I mean, he's a professional, like
His dad
that's
taught
what
him well.
professionals do. Yeah, that's what professionals do. Um, yeah, I think, I mean, these next 5 to 7 games are important, especially I think they're about to go on the road in like 3 or 4 games.
But they
So I
still got
think
that
they're going,
really. I mean, they got a tough West Coast, road trip coming up
yeah,
at some point too. I'm very curious to see this hold up against a better team because the two times in a row they've given up plus 50%. Okay, I'm curious. What do you think's happening with the defense? Because I've been batting this question around for like the entire night. I have my theories. Obviously, I think when communication's not great, defense is going to suffer.
yeah,
Um, I don't. I've been to a couple games this year. I don't hear a lot of people talking, like not the way they used to talk. So
yeah,
that to me might be it. Some people have said it's a lack of center, lack of
yeah.
size in the paint.
I
What
think
do you think?
I think it's two things. I think it's a lack of size. You don't have, like, they give up a lot of easy layups that could be more difficult layups, and I think the way they play defense, the NBA, like people in the NBA are very smart. Scouts are very smart. They're gonna figure you out after a while, and I think teams started to figure out how they're playing defense,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's why Nick started throwing in the three-quarter court press to a 2-3 just to throw the rhythm off, and then you come back to your defense. So I think it's kind of those two things, and um, I think you, I don't think they were as deep as they were last year because of the injuries at the beginning of the season. So it's kind of like chemistry. You need chemistry on defense too. So with Van Vliet being out, Precious being out for a long time, and Precious is huge on defense because he just rebounds the ball so well, and he's a big wing, but him and Scottie are like big wings. You know what I mean? Like Pascal is big, but those guys are kind of big wings. So I think the lack of size and the chemistry was kind of off because just like offensive chemistry, you need guys to be there all the time. So I know your tendencies on defense and how you're gonna play. If we keep the ball on the strong side, like who's gonna rotate and different things like that. So
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of it was chemistry, and I think it'll help if they had a big because it'll slide everybody up. You know what I mean? So you won't
I mean,
have
if you have a big, who's going to the bench? You starting Scotty at 2, Fred at 1, OG at 3, Pascal 4. I feel like Pascal needs the paint clear. So if you're gonna get a big, you got to get a big who shoots. Like you got to get
yeah,
like Turner or someone like that. You can't have like Steven Adams or someone like that clogging the paint because
yeah,
that to me it solves one problem. It creates three more. Um, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's interesting, right? Like I kind of wish like Masai would just come out and say like, yes, we are going for a play-in because we believe in this core. But to me, if you really believed in this core, like I don't see how you let them sputter this much and you holding on to all your future draft picks and you know, I mean,
yeah,
maybe they're just keeping their options open, but I don't know. I think it was a great game for Scotty tonight. It was like I was really happy for him.
yeah,
Like as much as I don't think that this team necessarily has and I was sort of echoing your sentiments that you shared in the thing. It's like, seasons can change, right? Like seasons can change. Like him in December last year when he was adjusting to Pascal coming back, and I think he had some injury stuff in December last year. Like his February was like night and day, right?
yeah,
So there's like a lot of people out there who've kind of like written him off for the season. And I mean, I showed people this like, and because someone said like I asked people like to grade Scotty, and I was saying like who was the biggest disappointment between Scotty and Fred or whatever, and But it's like, look at his numbers. Like, that's per 100 possessions is like identical. It's almost identical. He's just shooting better from the free throw line. Like he was for the most of the season, shooting better from the 3-point line. He's just kind of tailed off lately. Assists are up. And guys, assists are up despite team shooting being down. Like that assist number would be so much higher than 6.9 right now. It should be like probably like, man, probably like easily 8.1
Yeah,
in that area. So it's like people would be talking about a very different season if the team was shooting well. I think you made a really good point. But I've seen like, even though he's had like a couple of performances which were, I say, like bad statistically, I feel like the impact that he's had on the game like the last 3 weeks has been so much better. Do you know
yeah.
what's changed for him?
I think that he's just figuring it out. Um, I think there's a huge learning curve. He's like teams are playing him different. I think there was some inconsistencies with how the team was playing. I think they're like he's not gonna thrive anytime when there's just isolation ball. When the ball is moving, he's gonna play a lot better because he can affect the game in so many ways. He can't affect the game when like one guy is just playing isolation basketball. So now that the ball is moving and he's able to contribute so much, and I think that's the biggest thing. And I think he's just 21 to learn it. You know what I mean? Like he's growing every single day. He's a 21-year-old. Think about what we were doing at when we were 21.
That's exactly what I was saying. It's like I feel like he's like I would okay, first of all, like like I buried my parents before 21. I thought I was really mature. I bought my first place before I was 21. And people always used to be like, you're the most mature 21 I know, 21-year-old I know. And it's like I never faced 1/10 of the pressure he does on a nightly basis to go out and perform, play hurt, deal with all the the media and all that stuff. Like I can't even imagine living my life in the limelight like that. So it's like, and plus he's doing it away from home, doing it at like a completely different country. Like people don't like they're so used to. I feel like this team has developed like mid first rounders and late first rounders and second rounders and undrafted guys so many times. Like even DeMar, like DeMar was like an end of the lottery guy in like a kind of shaky draft. Like I'm not saying he wasn't like a rated prospect. I loved him in Compton, but like they haven't had a guy like Scottie since Vince.
Yeah.
That highly touted, like all the way through highly touted, like top 5 recruit, McDonald's All-American, USA basketball, like bloodline, pipeline all the way through. It's like these guys have like a different process, different pressures, different visions. You can't like every time someone throws out this, oh well, Pascal did this, so Scottie will do this stuff. It's like we're not even talking about like the same, like it's not the same trajectory. It's like completely different. Like Pascal was in New Mexico State, 21, was winning Rookie of the Year. He was averaging like 4 points per game. Like he was in the G League like at 23. It's like it's so different. I don't know.
hmm No,
But people
I
will
think
see.
to your point, I think that I think some people, especially like these top 5 picks, like they're just different, especially the guys from the caliber, like you know what I mean, where Scottie came from. Like he's never been on a losing team. You know what I mean? Like he's won national championship, 3 gold medals. Like he's and I think the organization also is learning how to like kind of like how the Heat are. You know what I mean? Like the Heat, like they're like underdogs. They believe in their system and working hard in their system, and I think it works. You know what I mean? It's a great system, but sometimes like they also have to learn how to grow, like
Prime
not
real
they're not
estate.
growing a seed. You know what I mean? Like they're growing like a fully grown. So like I think everybody's learning. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah, no, I mean I get it. Like straight up, there's Bobby Webster knows. Like he
yeah,
knows, right? He's a smart dude. I remember when he worked out Scotty, he walked away from that workout basically saying it's different. Like these guys are different. Like we work out a lot of players each year. We never get to work out these top 5 picks. It's
Yeah.
different. And what he really means is like the speed, the agility, the way they move, it's different. Like
Yeah.
like everything, the aura, the energy they carry with like if anyone's ever been around like a Kevin Garnett for like 2 minutes, you understand that some people just are different.
Yeah.
So like and you can't ask Kevin Garnett to act like Rick Smits. You just can't.
Yo, yo said Rick Smith. Yo, you sleepy, dog.
Why? Rick Smits was good, but he wasn't KG.
I know, but where did Rick Smith come from, bro?
Indiana. I was thinking about Indiana. I don't know why. I was thinking about like I don't know. I was telling him a story about like to me it's like it's personalities like they were talking about that whole sad Scotty thing, right? And there was these very irresponsible people who went on breakfast television saying like, it's crazy for a young kid to jaw at a vet. But it's like that's not true at all. Like it's not true at all. Like Kobe went at plenty of vets. Like it's like to me it's like okay, so here's the question without being controversial here. Do you think there is a relationship between being the type of guy who can actually comfortably talk to a vet when you're 21 and not be intimidated by that, and also being the same type of guy who could show up for a really big game like in the playoffs?
Nah, I think nah, man, like that. I mean, that was just guys, you know what I mean, having a conversation. But like Scotty's like don't forget who he is. You know what I mean? Like this motherfucker's a McDonald's All-American. Like he's not like he's not everyday person. Like he's been top 5 player in the country for like since he was 7th grade. You know what I mean? So he's super famous.
Exactly.
I mean, like he's a fucking rock star. Like already, like you see him on every single commercial. Like it's just a
But
little bit
but
different.
see,
And
this is why I say that handling of that comp, it killed a lot of that vibe, right? Because I know, scouts know, GMs knew. People think like people want to act like the Raptors the only team that would have taken him top 4. There are teams that would have taken him as high as 3. A lot. They don't know that because he was just like, I don't know why people weren't talking about it, or maybe people got exaggerated with the mocks, but like
I mean, a lot of people weren't talking about it because everybody was trying to just steal them away.
exactly like
Everybody was trying to keep it on the low. Exactly what the Raptors did. You know what I mean? They just kept it on the low. But
I told Kat that for me it's gonna be Bowlway by Scotty forever. I never walk into a Subway without saying it's Bowlway by Scotty. I don't even like Subway. I just walk into Subway to tell them that.
that's crazy. Like a lot of people don't like Subway, but like people in Florida,
They
like
do now. Eat fresh,
people in
refresh.
Florida like love fucking Subway.
No, it's funny. Like I get exactly what you're saying. And it's like you can't. But see, that's the problem. You get this culture of these undrafted guys, and it's like no shade on undrafted guys. Bruce Bowen, power to you. Ben Wallace, was Bruce Bowen undrafted? I think he was. Was it
Yeah,
Danny Green? I mean, like all those San Antonio guys, right? Like that whole whip and leash system. I get it, right? But is what you're saying is totally true as well, right? Like it's like, and of all the players in the world that have had like the national spotlight, like yo, chat. Like I don't know. There's still some people out here. What if you were famous in grade 8? Like I just want to know. Like Scotty was famous Amos in grade 8, like to the point where I remember watching his grade 8 Hoop Diamonds mixtape and reading the comments, and it bothered me so much. Not that I thought he was a great player or anything. I thought he was good, but like it bothered me that grown men, like grown, like 50, were, were going at this 8th grader. It's a fucking weird phenomenon for me to see that, because he doesn't look like a child, right? Because he's 6'4", So you approach him like he's not a child. You talk to him like he's not a child. You act like around him, or you talk about him like he's not a child, but he's still 20 years old, 21 years old. And to me, it's like it's always been this way with Scottie, and I don't understand why that is. But I remember reading those comments, and I'm like, if this kid bounces back from this comment section, he's goated for life, because it was straight trash. Do you remember it?
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. I've always like had like a real, like, you know, like, yeah. Hey, can you tell Brian that I watched Scottie's third episode on his personal YouTube channel, which showed his daily workout regime, which was no doubt created by Brian, and I got exhausted just watching it. That's funny. That's funny. You got a whole bunch of people who can't bench 30 pounds. Um, talking mess about professional athletes. I think like the challenge of being a professional athlete is just, it's so insane. Like,
Yeah.
even if you're genetically blessed or whatever, like you have a lot of things going for you. It's just, it's hard. Um, what's what's something what's something that you, okay, chat, ask a question. Ask Brian a question. If it's like, be reasonable with the questions though. Don't go all like, don't go psycho with your questions. Ask a good question. Oh, good question. Clutch Tatum, Brian, what do you think of Boston? This is a this is this is a Tatum fan who's been spamming our chat the whole time. I think he's gonna be.
I think Boston is really good. It's very difficult for defenses to guard a team who they have like a 30-point score starting the action, and the ball can be rotated around. He can put the defense in rotation, and the ball can be rotated around, and it could be in the hands of another 30-point score. Like, that's very difficult, and it's not a lot of isolation. They really run their stuff, and they really guard. And they have a general. You know what I mean? They really have a general. They have someone who's gonna do all the dirty work and also be aggressive, and he's also gonna hold them accountable. And that's Marcus Smart. So,
Yeah,
um,
no, absolutely.
and they got
Marcus,
shooters everywhere. So it's tough.
it's a good roster, and it's crazy to think that Danilo Gallinari is not even playing. Do you think Scottie can become a Tatum-like player? Bobby Marks made that comparison.
Nah, he'll be different than Tatum.
I agree. As a very
Yeah.
big Jason Tatum fan and a very big Scottie Barnes fan, I don't necessarily see that, unless, of course, we're just talking about like guys who ascend to top 5 player status, in which case, yes.
Yeah.
Brian, thanks for all your hard work. Thanks for helping and contributing to the development of a future Toronto legend. Love it. Real one.
Yes,
Say
sir.
this. Okay. B Rich says, "Where do you see Scottie's trajectory in the next 5 years?" Don't answer anything that we answer in the video, because I need that video to do well after 20 hours.
All right, I'm not gonna. That's why I'm here, bro. This is the promo before the drop. Everybody gotta be.
Is it? You know what's crazy? I see, like I don't see the chat usually, because there's like way more people here usually. But sometimes I'll go back to the chat and I'll notice that you wrote a comment, and I'm like, oh, that's nice. You wrote the Matrix comment the other day.
It's like it's cool to go to the game and then come back and then watch the YouTube or have YouTube going, because it's just like, I don't know.
The passion
Kind of
is
like
crazy.
Scott Van Pelt when he brings guys on just to talk about the game and shit. So it's like, it's cool to get different people's perspective.
That's exactly how I feel about it. It's like, I'm one person. I think I know basketball, but like sometimes I'm very shocked that like sometimes someone will like say something and I'm like, I didn't think about it that way or that way. And it's like, usually talk shows, like these talk radio shows, are usually pretty trash, but I really like the callers here. Clutch Tatum, is Scottie's burner on here? No. Okay, Clutch Tatum, you're getting like no more. What's Scotty's weight in a few years? Is he still growing?
Yeah, he's still growing. He'll probably I think he's like 225, 230 right now.
I think he's 235 now.
He might be like 230. I think he'll probably be
6% body fat.
yeah. I think he'll probably get to like probably max 240. He'll stay lean. He's got a lean body. No homo.
Does Brian help with injury prevention? Did he help with Scotty's ankle situation?
Nah, I'm just all basketball.
Handle life, not ankle life. Tamberlin, I can't find your question. You want to ask it again? Sorry. Oh, um, I don't think he's, yeah, I don't think you feel comfortable talking about what Masai's thinking. Um,
I mean, I don't think Masai's gonna do anything drastic.
you don't? I do.
I
I
don't think
mean,
he's.
we had a caller the other day who swore up and down that he was chill with Chris Boucher, um, saying that his boy's about to get traded. I mean, I wouldn't doubt it, but
Yeah, but that's not anything drastic.
that's true. That's true. That's true. That's true. It's a rotation player getting drafted, but it's like, you know, Vegas releasing the odds of OG getting traded. I mean, you know why those odds are up, because everybody wants them. Everyone in the league wants OG right now. Like, who
Yeah.
wouldn't want him? If you're even
There's
remotely,
no situation where you trade OG unless they give you the Donovan Mitchell package, and nobody's gonna do that.
yeah, no,
There's no
I
you
just
can't you
I
can't
like
trade
OG and Scotty so much together.
yeah, but you can't like OG's a perfect player. Like he's a perfect player. Um, because he's gonna shut down. He's gonna be able to guard the other team's best player, and you need that to win the championship.
This is a good question. What kind of player would best complement Scotty's game? I have my answer, but maybe two types of players, player types, archetypes.
Um, like a 3-and-D shooter slasher right now, shooter cutter, like a when Danny Green is good. You know what I mean? Like when Danny Green is making shots and slash and cutting to the basket, that kind
Hmm.
of player.
Someone
Um,
just said Jalen Suggs. No, no,
yeah,
bro, no.
I think like a there or like a and if I would want to see him with like a really athletic big. That would be cool.
Coloco. So I have really liked Christian Coloco this year. I don't know if I told you that,
Yeah,
but he's flashed some stuff in the short roll. Um, I've
yeah,
been
he can
seeing.
pass out of the short roll too a little bit.
That's exactly it. He's
Yeah, he can
quick.
pass a little bit out of the
I
short
mean,
roll.
for a guy who picked up basketball at 16, you don't expect to see that. I mean, like, I think he's
He-
really just smart. I hear it in the way that he answers questions about stuff. Like, he's just
Yeah,
really he
I think
picks
he's
things
gonna
up
be. I think next year he's gonna be really good. I think
that
probably in
fast, eh?
yeah, I think it probably like
He needs
3.
strength.
Yeah, and like maybe in like a few months he might like after the All-Star break. I think he's really gonna take another step. I didn't know he can shoot threes. That's crazy.
I've seen him in an
If
open.
he can make a corner three, it's over.
He's a clutch client, and I think the clutch did a pre-draft exhibition for all of their clients. I think I saw him hit. I want to say like 12 or 13 from the top in a row, consistent
Tough.
form. And I mean, like, he went from 37% free throw shooting as a freshman all the way up to 70. So he's a worker. It was
Hmm.
consistent up, right? So to me, it was like in summer league when I saw him playing, he was getting bodied by dudes in summer league, but you know summer league. Um, to me, it's like it's just a matter of strength, confidence, finishing at the rim. I mean, he's so huge. I don't
Yeah,
see
and
how, like,
I
people compare
think
him to Clint Capella. I think he'd be so much better.
Yeah, I think so too. And he just got to stop fouling, but that's being a rookie.
Being a rookie big man, people were like talking about him fouling and giving him a D for that. I was like, you remember Pascal as a rookie? Like he fouled, like he still fouls.
Yeah.
Da, da, da. I got a set of questions possible regardless. It's a blessed stream tonight. All right, man. All right, to all of you guys, uh, Brian, I want to go to sleep. I'm tired. I do kind of want to like, because Kwame pulled it off, right? He goes, he fell asleep on the chat. He fell asleep
Really?
on the stream. Yeah. He fell asleep on the stream, and then people just kept giving him super chats until he woke up. And I was like, this is like an amazing business philosophy, literally. And someone connected the dots. It's like Kwame literally making money in his sleep. It's
That's
funny.
crazy.
Yeah. But
hey, that video's dropping tomorrow.
what'd you think of it?
Support should
Did
be
you?
a good one.
I mean, you haven't seen all the graphics and shit I put up. I wanted to. I was actually just telling the chat earlier. I don't know if you heard it, about like how to have a conversation with somebody that you don't know, right? Like there has to be some amount of respect that you approach it with. Like like I know of you because you're Scotty's trainer, but I don't like respect you because you're Scotty's trainer. I respect you because you're doing all this other stuff, and it's like super cool. So I feel like the conversation that we had wasn't like. I feel like it was a good conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like
So
it was like just guys talking about basketball.
exactly. And that's exactly what it was supposed to be. There's no like gotcha journalism. I'm not trying to get you to say something stupid. Like I don't know. Like whatever. It's cool. Like and it's like, you know, I've repeated that thing that you said about how you wanted us to be more fair, how Scotty would want us to be fair about his bad games.
Yeah.
I've repeated that like 4 times. Cuz I was so uh, I'm not shocked. I'm not shocked at all. I know that's exactly how you would think about it, but it's still refreshing. It's refreshing as
Yeah.
hell to hear that, like coming from somebody who loves him and supports him. It's like, hey, like, you know, this channel that's devoted to like 100% positive Scotty news, like, yeah, you guys can be negative once in a while. No, it's cool, and you know what, like, that's really good to know. I think we were pretty fair about his game tonight. He had a good game. He needs to finish tougher in the paint.
Get
Can't be
some
doing
sleep, my
those.
boy.
Okay. Um. Oh, final question. Red Bull or Monster, which energy drink is king?
I don't do caffeine. No caffeine for me.
Then how are you up right now? Pure life energy.
Yep. Good
Yep.
vibes.
Good vibes. Okay. Have a good night, Brian. Thanks for
You
coming
too.
in. Cheers.
Alright.
That was a surprise and very cool one. Just a reminder to anyone, the video does drop tomorrow. It digs pretty deep into a lot of the stuff that's been talked about Scotty. It digs into handle life, Brian's process, Brian's attitude towards training. If you've got kids who are training in basketball, I think it's something for you. If you're an aspiring trainer, it's something for you. If you're a Raptor fan, we dig into a lot of Raptor stuff. I think how the Raptors are playing this year, what you can expect. I learned a lot. So if you're learning a lot from me, just know that I learned a lot from that conversation, and that conversation does drop tomorrow. I want to say around 2 o'clock. Don't worry, I'm not flaking on it. 2 o'clock tomorrow, it will be out. All right. Phoenix play 2 o'clock tomorrow. All right. Thank you guys so much. Have a good night. Tamberlin says you can tell he's very positive. Yes. That is a good recipe for success in life, is to be positive and grateful and humble, and to be reminded that like there's a lot of people out there who probably kill to be in your position. So I think that's probably like my takeaway for the night is to stay grateful for stuff, you know? All right. Sorry guys. I'm mumbling and rambling right now because 42 hours no sleep will do that to you. Have a good night. Good night. Good night. Good night. See you guys. Alexander, thank you so much.